Yeah, I mean we can wait till I start seeing people show up.
Yeah, I think that's
What's going on, you beautiful people? It's your boy Vin in the house. We've got a this is a black metal stream today, and it's a black metal stream because I'm black and I'm gonna be doing the show with y'all.
ridiculous.
Ridiculous. This is the real life true cult black metal. Here is a black man listening to metal. Get it? Black man listening to metal because it's black metal. You guys don't get it. You guys are dumb butts. 23 people on the line. Good to see everybody. Hold on, let me see some. Okay, we got the True Cult Tweaker in the house. He was first. Goth Mom in the house. Skeen in the house. Bates in the house. Who's the head True Cult guy in charge? Black metal. Request in the house. Who's the
My understanding it's Neil.
Oh, it's Neil. Somebody's about to make a mistake. What's happening? What's good, Anthony King Jr.? Long time no see, Bumblebee. Black metal. We will be starting pretty soon. I'll put a 10-minute clock on there. 10-minute clock. It's your fault. Now I say dumb butt even though I swear like a sailor. Thanks. You know, I'm just about spreading the goodness, you know, creating good habits in people. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're about over here. True Cult in the house. Okay, so Neil Murray's in the house. Neil Murray's the guy, right?
Yep. And if you go on Facebook, PicMonkey,
Yeah.
you'll be able to get the background there, okay?
Okay, and then we added the thumbnail.
I added the thumbnail, yeah.
True Cult up in here. Going to your first metal show. Saludos. Perk. CBE in the house. Whoa, your bro just got out of the hospital. That's good, right? That's good. Hope he's in decent shape, and hopefully you guys got good health care. No bullshit. So that you can just focus on taking care of your bro, making sure that he's good. Does he need anything? Does he need a pizza or something? We can order him a pizza. We've ordered a couple people pizzas here. So let me know. I'm glad to see your brother's doing good, though. Anytime there's a healthcare issue, I'm a little bit sensitive to it for obvious reasons. But glad to see your brother's doing good. Shout out to the homie Kens. I mean, hey, if he shows up, it's all good. We welcome everybody in the village, even if we disagree. Everybody's welcome. He wasn't being like too crazy. Plus, I was his target. So as long as I'm the target, guys, it's all good. It's all good if I'm the target. Pump for Meph0rash. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like black metal is become. An in and out. Damn, CB. Sorry to hear that, bro. But that's good though. At least you won't have any structural damage to the skeletal stuff. That's always the worst. And hopefully you guys get out of the hood, bro. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rufus. You know what? I'm about to get into a book. I need a really good epic fantasy novel, to be honest with y'all. Yeah, I know. Biden is sending 3,600 troops back to Kabul to evacuate the embassy so the agency knows it's all over. It's Saigon, Maine 75, except more deaths are coming. Yeah, I'm not sure it's necessarily going to be Saigon, but I definitely hear what you're saying for sure. Inshallah, It doesn't have to end that way. What's up, Goth Mom? Delaney in the house. Whoa. Kevin Smith in the house. What's up, Kevin? You hear them on the news warmongering? Oh yeah, I know. I hear him. We gotta stay in the stand because, you know, if not, the tally's gonna take over. So we should be there for another 50 years. Like you're never gonna completely eliminate the tally. Alexander the Great could never conquer Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not a place that can be conquered. And, you know, look, unless the people there rise up and decide they don't want to live under the control of the tally, they're going to live under the control of the tally. And they were at war with each other prior to us showing up, and they'll be at war with each other after. The so-called Northern Alliance was already in a decades-long skirmish with the tally. So there's always going to be a reason. Always going to be a reason to justify. The Taliban are said to be worse now than in 2001. I was thought they would have been moderated. How could the tally be moderated since 2001, Steve, when we keep giving them new material? We keep bombing the shit out of innocent people, and we've created a new generation of very motivated fighters for that reason. So it's a freaking terrible situation to be part of, obviously, but you know, here we are. Same old, same old. It's kind of frustrating. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think that you know, anytime you have these types of incursions and do all this shit to people, you're going to radicalize them. They try to use the Taliban like they don't even want to leave the region. They want land. I mean, you know, look, there's giant opium deposits there, right? And opium, it's a lot of money. So, yeah, I mean, much more could be said.
This or no?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
Now?
Well, we got to put that in the thumb, right?
Yep.
So you want me to snap it?
No, I already did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's perfect. And you got 4 minutes, so you can get it done in time, inshallah. There are moderate Taliban members like the former art and communication minute. Drone strikes on marriages has upped people joining. I would in their position. Yeah, of course. Of course. You're in a wedding. It's supposed to be the happiest day of your life. You know, the marham's paid and all this jazz, and everybody's celebrating. And then there comes an American who disassembles your wife right in front of you. Okay, well, what are you gonna do? What would you do? What would any American do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we had a minor détente with them, that was initiated by Trump in 2020, and targeted killings of Americans dropped precipitously. So, I mean, it's possible to have a sort of peace with the tally because there's a lot in Islamic history about being, circumspect and wise when you're dealing with your opposition, especially if you're outnumbered and overpowered. I mean, the goal is always to establish a khalifa, but there are lots of examples in Islamic history where surrender and things like that for the sake of Muslim people is actually commended as a positive thing. But when you keep drone bombing people over and over and over again, you keep drone bombing people, then it becomes very, very difficult to argue that they should stop fighting. And it becomes almost a survival issue. Oh, is that it right there? I'm looking at it right now, babe.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
I would just put Christians question mark. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To trigger the Pharisaical contingent. Ministry of the Christian Khalifa? No, it's not. No, it's not, AT. It's not even close. How come you always drink Pepsi and not Coke? I hate Coke. There is a legitimate hatred in my heart for Coca-Cola. Hello, beautiful people of the village. We're starting in a minute, guys. Starting in a minute. Christians hate Coke. I agree. We hate Coke. What about that gold chain? Hey, what about the order, Neil? Is the order correct?
Yeah, it's on Trello.
Okay.
And I just updated it.
59 seconds, guys, before song 1. It's coming down the pike, ladies and gents. It's coming down the pike. All right. Let's see here. What do we got here? What is it? Boards? Your Grace.
The first one is listed right there, whatever it is.
I see birthday time in here.
You're on Trello?
Yeah. Where is it at?
You gotta remember, you go to boards and switch it to the alliances.
Well, that's what I said. Do I go to boards? All right. Okay, so Darkthrone is first. That's the correct order. All right. All right, guys. First song is Darkthrone, Transylvanian Hunger. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
Rubbish. That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch. Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed.
Buy it indeed. Oops.
Hello, dear listener. Dear listener.
Were you
Oh,
muted?
we're being interrupted. And here we are. My name is Vincent.
And I'm sorry. And tonight we're going to react to some music, possibly making us look like we're not Christians. Prepare yourself for the darkness.
You're kind of freaking me out here. Okay. Having said that, welcome everybody from the cavernous caves of Vin and Soriville.
Yes.
Here we are. One of us is still a Christian.
And one of us is not. You make your guess.
And I don't know how to explain this to people, but it is kind of disconcerting. I'm not going to lie to you. The energy in here is kind of a little bit different. I'm not really a fan. But you know, hey, this is what we do.
Well, I did have one white eye on. I took it off for you.
Yeah, the white eye was too much for me. I was like, okay, that's
It was getting fearful.
like we have to like pretend that we're Christians, or at least try. But anyway, this is the True Cult Alliance. The name of this song is Transylvanian Hunger. And we're going to go right into it. And of course, everybody's telling me, oh, shut up, Vin, blah, 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 blah. Transylvanian Hunger, let's go. Damn. Okay, so that was Transylvanian Hunger. I was gonna say by the band Bathory because everybody keeps saying Bathory because of you with your evil self.
Yes.
Okay, so the main riff, that main melodic, somebody said, I forgot, I don't know who it was because I don't recognize the name, but somebody said like, hey man, do you hear the Magua influence or the how Magua was influenced by them, because these guys were before Magua. And yeah, you know, where you take that one melodic tremolo thing and you just ride that for the entire song, but then you have a crazy drummer like that right there. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like this was underproduced, but it was good musicianship. Like you could tell this was good musicianship.
Yep.
Like, we listened to a black metal song a couple days ago, and it was like bad musicianship and bad production. And somebody was talking. Go ahead.
Look, guys, I'll give you some advice. If you don't like this type of music, paint your face, because I enjoyed it much more like this. I'm serious.
Did you really?
Yeah. I think it kind of gets you in the mood for it. So it's like, okay, we're gonna.
Yeah, you kind of transform every time the face paint comes on. Like,
I like it.
And we can only do it like once a year, because.
I'm gonna go to bed like this.
Okay.
Will you be scared?
You go to bed alone. That's friend Reese on the drums. Yeah, the white face is cultural appropriation, geisha. Yeah. British vampire story is.
That's true. Should I use the word bloody now?
Now you can.
Am I going straight to hell?
No. Well, no, because if you say bloody and you're British, then you're going to hell. But you say bloody is America, you're okay.
So I just said bloody as a British sounding accent.
Yeah, but now you're going to hell.
Yeah, I'm going to hell. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
That's so bad. This is for the for all the stalkers. Did you see what Soraya was wearing?
Also, I've put up 2 devil horns, so add that to your book.
Yeah, you stupid people. All right.
We approve of the stream. Wonderful. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so number one, the music is like the big. I mean, there is not a lot of lyrics here. We'll go over the lyrics in a second, but like I just love that melodic tremolo picking. I love it. As a matter of fact, we got to do some stuff with the room and stuff. But after that, I'm gonna pull out my guitar and just. Come on, I'm just gonna write a song like that by the end of the night, and we're gonna call it "Bloody" in honor of the big homie Ken.
You're going to hell now.
No. So that when all the Americans sing the song, they're gonna be like "Bloody," but then like we're gonna have like some like European people say it too on the song. No. So then when the Europeans say it, we'll like make the screen go red, and then when the Americans say it, it'll go blue.
This is so bad. All right, let's get right into these lyrics because I'm super curious.
Shout out to Zombie Holic. My parents have officially been evacuated.
Oh,
Sucks.
No.
Hopefully they stop the fire. Hate to lose my car and my folks home.
Yikes.
Damn. Keep us updated,
Yes.
Zoms. Okay, Transylvanian Hunger. I'm assuming that's talking about vampirism, right? Because what's his face is from Transylvania? Dracula?
Yes, I'm quite familiar.
There's actually a video game called Transylvania.
There's also a
My
cartoon.
mom wouldn't let us play it.
Why not?
Because it was Transylvania. It was vampires and shit.
Well, she let you do lots of things that we weren't allowed to do, so I'm surprised.
No, but that was like directly, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So my brother, his best friend, his name was Chris. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Chris Green. And he had it on Game Boy. So I used to play Transylvania on Game Boy. Yeah, I used to go over to his place and I just played Transylvania on Game Boy.
So you broke the rules.
100%. And the music, I love the music, but it was like spooky, but it was like, it was on a Game Boy, so it sounded kind of, crappy, but I mean, it was a spooky sound. I was like, oh my God, this is like some dangerous shit I'm doing here. Transylvanian Hunger, cold soul, your hands are cruel, to haunt. The mountains are cold, soul, careful, pale, forever at night. Take me, can't you feel the call? Embrace me eternally in your daylight slumber.
I like that.
That's vampires, right? They sleep in the day?
Yes. Ooh.
Be good to get someone in your gang to add something to your prospect list. I don't know what that means. We continue.
To be draped by the shadow of your morbid palace.
Of hate. Living.
Hate living.
The only heat is warm blood.
Oh.
So it looks like this guy wants to be down with the vampire shit. Like he wants to be like in the crew.
Yep.
And the only warmth is warm blood. Yikes. Yeah, those dudes are always cold. I always think of vampires as being cold. Like what's that guy's name? Cullen? The guy that you were in love with what's his name?
I was never in love with him.
Yeah, you were in love
No,
with
I
that
really
dude.
wasn't.
No, you really were.
I really wasn't. You have no idea what was going on with me during that
Listen,
time.
she tore her Achilles, right? So she was bedridden for like a couple weeks. And so
Vin watched the whole Twilight series with me.
Her friend that got her the entire Twilight series. So we watched that shit from beginning to end.
He did. He watched it with me. It was so cute.
Like you could tell, like she was completely smitten with Edward Cullen guy, the vampire, whatever.
It's completely untrue.
And she's trying to like reorient it and say, "Oh no, I was replacing him with you." But how many black vampires do you like see really? I mean, come on.
There's one in my thoughts.
She had that. Hail to the true, intense vampires, a story made for divine fulfillment. To be the ones breathing a wind of sorrow and fright, the dearest catharsis. You know, I wonder if rock stars like feel that way. Like, I wonder if they feel like almost vampirish, because really, like their schedule, like my schedule right now is like most of my day is seeing the night, and I'm at peace with that. I love that. I'm not really a fan of daylight. You know what I'm saying? But like,
As I've said, there's a vampire in my mind right now.
that is true though, because that's kind of the lifestyle I live. Like I kind of lead that lifestyle. Although people just suck my blood, I'm usually surrounded by people who suck the life out of me, not the other way around. But like think about their life, right? They like, you figure they sleep during the day, they have nothing to do in the day, especially if you're a main stage band.
Yeah.
If you're a main stage band, you're not working till 9 o'clock at night, maybe 8 o'clock. That's not, so you have nothing to do. So a lot of these dudes, they just sleep and they wake up at like 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that would get old though. I feel like that the nice sunlight is nice, but that's me. We're different. You're the opposite. If you lived in a forever dark world, you'd be good with it.
I would be completely fine.
And I wouldn't. I could be in forever light, but I would go visit your dark world, and you could visit my light world, maybe. We could meet on the edge.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that we could meet in the middle. I'm not necessarily against meeting in the middle. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like Jonathan had a vampire type of thing too, like Queen of the Damned, which is a vampire thing. But it's interesting, in the movie Queen of the Damned, the vampire was actually a rock star.
Oh. Like
he was like a legitimate rock star.
Really?
Yeah. And I just think that there is a lot of like interplay between being a rock star and the vampire lifestyle. Because like typically vampires are looked upon as like, they're usually very attractive, they're very seductive. They usually have a bunch of girls. You know what I'm saying? But they're just there to consume the girl. They're not there to really be with the girl, which is why the whole Twilight thing was, it's different because, he falls in love with her.
Right.
But, like, if you look at what a vampire does, he's attractive, he lives the nightlife, he really doesn't function very, very well in the day, and he's got a steady harem of women that he just consumes and doesn't, like, that's a rock star. So
yeah.
I just think that, like,
that's true.
Especially if you're in the metal, you're kind of drawn to the darker side of life. Like, I think there's a lot of correlation that they have between, vampires and, you know what I'm saying? And their lifestyle. It just seems
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Where were you lyrically?
Well, I pretty much read the whole thing. Beautiful evil, self to be
the morbid count, a part of a pact that is delightfully immortal.
Feel the call, freeze you with the uppermost. See right there when he talks about, a pact that is delightfully immortal, that would be, you make a pact with other people. So that would be the people in his band. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it just looks like they're talking about their lifestyle. And some of this, I mean, these guys are European, right? So some of this is going to be the environment, the cold, dark environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also think it's just I think it's a pretty brilliant way to express, they talk about to be the ones breathing a wind of sorrow and fright, the dearest catharsis. So I just think that this is talking about their lifestyle as rock stars, black metal rock stars, and they're casting it in a, you know, the vampire motif because it goes very, very well with the lifestyle that they lead. They have a pact with one another. It's dark. They're
Hail
nocturnal.
to the true intense vampires, like all the other rock stars that go in hard like they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I think that that's what it's about. Like Transylvanian hunger. It's like, that's how they define their lifestyle and what they're about. So it looks like that to me. What do you give it?
Ooh, you know, this is going to be weird because, like I said, seriously, painting my face made me enjoy the music more. So I'm going to go with a 9.3.
9.3. I think this is a 9.5. I think they started out really, 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 really solid. Really good song. I love the tremolo riff, and it wasn't too long. Like the song had a lot of awareness. Like it knew we're just gonna ride this riff.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna jump
I'm
out
with
of
it.
And it wasn't very pretentious, and it was perfect. So
shout out to
what did I got it at 9.5. And
yes,
obviously, you know, look, black metal is my favorite genre, and the tremolo style is like my favorite of my favorite. So I mean, that's why "Got the Life" is my favorite song.
Right.
Like any song that's got tremolo movements like that, I love it. So that's it. 9.5. What'd you give it?
I give it a 9.3.
There you are, dear listener. If you are in the DJ stream, then stick around. We've got more songs to do. If you're a square and you're not in the DJ stream, then we don't care what you do. Well, we'll see you later. Then out.
Bathory out.
Gone. Holy moly. You are freaking terrifying. All right, guys.
Orion liked it.
Who was doing all that screaming? Was that Reza?
Orion. He was having so much fun. He'd go up to me and then he'd go, "Ah!" and run away from me. And then he'd creep back up to me. And as soon as our faces would look at each other, he'd go, "Ah!" He was just playing with it. It was fun. Having fun. I need to get a drink. I shall return.
Poor kid was terrified. Can you give me another Pepsi, inshallah?
Yep.
Jazakallah. All right, guys. We got 2 minutes. The next song is on the way. Yeah, "Got the Life" from Korn. That's a song that got me into metal, Applejack. Yes, she said it, guys. 2 minutes till the next song, guys. 2 minutes till the next song. Oh, I forgot about this guy. I forgot about this little feller. And I got to add a scene to this thing because these people, they want their intro to be in the thingamajiggy. So I'm going to add that to the scene here and then tell it. Then I'm going to say, oh, you know what? I solved that. I figured it out. I know what I'm going to do. We'll do this. Vin,
I'm sorry.
if you would like to get your song reviewed, and then, boom, perfect. Coca-Cola every time, you say. Aaliyah died after filming Queen of the Damned. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
I've returned.
Oh. Yes, she did. Shout out to Aaliyah.
Shout out to Kevin.
Huh?
Shout out to Kevin.
Kevin?
Kevin Samuels with a straw in his Red Bull.
Oh. Does he do that?
Yeah. Sometimes he pours it in a glass and sometimes he takes it with a straw.
Very manly. Very manly.
Yep. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks for bringing back our intro. Yeah, I figured it out.
If you're keeping them, you want me to open them a little wider for you?
Well, I don't know if I'm keeping them. Sori wants to give away this ring.
That one's a skull and that
ring.
one's a bull or something.
It's like a gargoyle almost.
It's a bull.
But yeah. Wasn't it Fenris who got elected to the city council of a town in Norway? That's crazy. Black metal guy got elected to the city council. We out here. We out here. Da-da-da. All right, there we go. There's a little icon. That looks like the, not Megadeth, but the Iron Maiden guy. You know the little guy in Iron Maiden that's all mean to everybody?
Oh, yes, I do.
Look at this. Flawless payment history. You've made all your payments on time. Great job. Sign in to track your progress.
Did you see the message that I sent?
It's so funny. Like, they always have these, good job.
I
You
know.
made your payments on time, blah, 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 blah.
Can you guys tell that I have one red one?
Yeah, you can put the white one on. I'm just not a fan of the white one. Just not a fan of the white eye. It was too much. It's too much. It's too late to apologize. What do you mean, what you sent me? From Shorty?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I saw it.
What I responded? What
Yeah,
I sent?
yeah, you did a good job.
All right, let's go.
You did a really good job. All right, guys, we're on to song 2. We shall return, dear listener. Hello.
Welcome back to our stream.
We have arrived.
We are in the middle of a dark stream. This is for the True Cult, one of our alliances.
Yes, dear listener.
Quite possibly every song on this list is going to be some form of dark metal. The next song on our list is Bolzer, Entrance by the Wolfshook.
Entranced, Missy.
Excuse me.
Entranced.
I can't see very well with this contact.
That's what happens when you're British. You know, like being British is not necessarily to be recommended. Having said that, the time has arrived.
Let's indulge ourselves in this music.
Sounds like Bolzer in Trance by the Wolf Shook. Okay, and we're off. This is actually really good. Whoa. Damn, what is that? What instrument is that? Build up here is crazy. Build up here is crazy. It might get really heavy. What do they say in this part? Oh, right there. Accomplice in blood, he was saying.
Well,
Okay, so
that was a different sort of one.
yeah, that's a heavier kind of black metal. I mean, I think it's still probably black metal. I don't know what the classification is. We'll have to get it from Neil. But this one was
He already told us. It's Polish death black metal, released in 2013. It's the winner of our death metal poll.
okay. So it's a death metal band with like black metal influences,
Polish
maybe
death
subject
black
matter,
metal.
whatever. But like this song was obviously a lot more developed and intricate instrumentally than the song we just did.
Absolutely, it had a lot more angles to it. Something I've not heard of in black metal before.
It was more dynamic and it had a lot more layers to it than
I would agree.
what was happening. Obviously, the musicianship was much better, and also the production. These are two people that did this.
That's what someone was saying in the comment section. I'm not really clear on that, if that's actually true or not. If it is, shout out to them, because that's some badassery right there.
Yeah, that
Bloody good playing. If there's only two people, that's crazy.
yeah, that's only. Well, that's the thing. Like, music today is like so different now. Like I said, like back in the day, you had to have a record deal, a distribution deal, a label,
Absolutely.
pay a sound engineer, yada yada yada. And now these people, they just they just go in there. Apparently, this guy has like. There's only two of them that did this. I mean,
Right.
that's freaking amazing. But
crazy.
Somebody said that he's playing a 12-string guitar because
Oh.
the main riffage, like I didn't under. I'm
It
like,
had a sort of fuller sound to it, which I did recognize.
yeah, like it was definitely like. I'm gonna try to find what I'm talking about. See that dun 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 dun? It sounded, but I'm like, that could be the keyboard synth, or it could be like a heavily distorted whatever he was doing on guitar. But it was really, really good.
But it did sound like a 12-string. My mother used to have a 12-string guitar, and it did sound a lot different than the other ones.
Oh, okay.
And it did have that sort of extra sound to it that I thought I recognized, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, and then, Sean was saying it could have been a distorted bass. I'm not sure, but he was killing it. He was killing it. There must have been a keyboard in the background as well, for sure, but that main riff sounded like a guitar. But, I mean, the fact that Hermit's repeating it, he was the son of a famous jazz musician. He probably learned a thing or two from him. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you start... when I got my guitar, I was like, I'm not going to learn any theory or anything like that. I'm just going to play from my heart and all the rest of it, which is, fine. Like, that's cool, playing from your heart. But the more theory that it's kind of a weird analogy, but it's kind of like praying. Like, the more Bible the better the better kind of prayer you are. So, like, the more music then the more music you can make from your heart that is really awesome.
Right.
The more theory the more things that your heart has to play with.
That's absolutely true. I mean, it's like having lots of words and knowing lots of words. You're able to make better poetry.
Yeah. Yeah, and this guy definitely makes poetry with his music. That's for freaking sure. Holy moly.
Oh, were we talking about some form of a werewolf in this?
Well, yeah, I think that's the theme with the True Cult. By the way, shout out to the True Cult. The True Cult is an alliance, dear listener, and if you want to be part of an alliance, they're running this DJ stream. And I could not say DJ'd by the True Cult because, I mean, come on. That's you can't say that vampires and demons are DJing. Like, that doesn't work, right? So we're just gonna say brought to you by True Cult. But anyway, Entranced by the Wolf. So the first one was about vampires. This one is obviously about werewolves or, wolves in general.
It seemed as though it was like a form of a werewolf because they didn't call it that. And I don't know if that's because of locationally it's similar but different name.
Well, it's interesting because BM Fan says that this is an anti-fascist song.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. So I don't know if he means like that literally, as in, anti-fascist would be Antifa. Right, so
yes,
if this is like a Antifa sort of like Pledge of Allegiance or whatever, but anyway,
okay.
His tongue conjured up fire and hearts of hope that did smolder. With words as clear as the wind, blade sprang from the ashes again. Dance. Sermon of the crooked cross, the pulpits rock with death. Chaos chorus, deafening, sure-footed, might machine. Okay.
Dance floors of human flesh.
Syncopated until the end. Okay. His dagger-like eyes left you limp in their stead. Blood. Weak as the pride in your veins. Master gives your fear a face that you can hate. Iron is the solution to the problem. Slave is what you are, confirmed in unison. Aha. Entranced by the wolf's hook, hypnotized by blood, condemned to the wolf's hook, accomplice in the blood. His psalms emanate power, beset with lightning and thunder. As you slip into trance, you swear allegiance to dance. Okay, I could definitely see that this is an anti-fascist song for sure.
All right.
But the Hermit's tablet responds, they've never claimed it's an anti-fascist song. Okay, they might not. But I could definitely see how an anti-fascist would use it as their song. Shout out to Applejack. What do you think of the lyrics here?
Well, I suppose there could be the anti-fascist thing, but it's hard for me to see the song in any other light besides some sort of mythical creature. And what's he commanding the people to do around him? Mm-hmm. So... But at the same time, I see what you're saying. Like, Master gives your fear a face that you can hate.
The singer of the band has a bunch of swastikas all over his arm, though.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure. And the other thing is that like one man's hero is another man's terrorist or whatever. Absolutely. So there's that angle too. The lead singer is mixed race. His father is black, yet he's also covered in sunwheel tattoos. They're not NSBM. They're not overly political either. I've played with these guys in London. Okay, so the Hermits.
Oh, you played with them.
Yeah, the
Good for you.
Well, I figured that the Hermit's tablet is like in some black metal band.
All right.
We've probably reviewed one of his songs, I think. Okay, so it looks like at minimum, because he says his Psalms, Sermon on the Crooked Cross right there, the
Yes,
Sermon on the
I
Crooked
saw
Cross,
lots
of
of-
Rock with Death.
Right.
The Chaos Chorus,
Deafening.
Deafening, Sure-Footed Might Machine. That's a good line, man. Sure-Footed Might Machine.
Well,
Dance
can you
floors of
explain
human
it?
flesh.
I'm not really feeling like I'm understanding your...
Well, you know they say might makes right.
Yes.
And so it's like if you talk about when you have a very strong military, they call it a military machine. You know, they just talk. You know, like Nazi Germany with the Blitzkrieg.
Right.
Like they were the killing machines basically. So
Sure.
So anytime you have a fascist state, you have to have the religion. A lot of people think they immediately go after religion. The fascists did not immediately go after religion. What they did was they tried to get the religious people to preach their version of the gospel or whatever.
Right.
And if you didn't, that's when they went after you. But there's a state church in China. So China goes, what do you mean? We haven't made Christianity legal. There's a straight church in China. And it's actually a pretty large church with a pretty large membership, but it's a pro-government propaganda church. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. Like all of these fascist government, same thing in Germany. There were Christian churches in Germany that were not persecuted at all. They just went along with the party line, said all kinds of crazy shit about Jews and all the rest of it, and basically canonized all the evil shit that Hitler was doing. So it looks to me like he's talking about religion's role in, you know, fascistic or autocratic or bad governments, it looks like, and how, you know, look, it says his tongue conjured up fire.
Right.
In hearts of hope. That's a religious person.
Right.
Is that you're speaking to a congregation full of people that want some sort of hope, and then you take advantage of all that duress and transform it into something that's pro-state or pro-war or whatever you want to say.
That's terrible. I think the worst thing about that is that the message from the pulpit should be one of actual hope, not one of worship to the state.
Well, a lot of people can't tell the difference between the two.
What?
So a lot of people believe, you know, that, I mean, if you think about it, it happens every presidential election, is that the presidential elections, particularly in America, are often religious exercises. So it's, look, the Republicans have us in hell. People were in Trump hell. And then we demonized Trump because we attached all of these superfluities to Trump. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's literally Hitler, blah, 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 blah. And then we presented Biden as sort of this like messianic figure who could rescue us from Trump. That's why when he was getting inaugurated, you saw that clip where the guy said that the Washington Monument, and then the lights go out from the guy's like, that's like Joe Biden's arms.
Yes, I saw that. It was ridiculous.
Going to embrace America, right? So
Yes.
because they used all of this like almost quasi-religious language to talk about how horrible Trump and satanic and evil Trump was, they then had to do the same thing on the other side. And it's the same thing with Obama. You know, you had the hope thing, and they had like a little, I was going to say swastika, but a little, you know, halo around his head. And so there was all this, you know, messianic imagery.
Right. It's absolutely
so
ridiculous.
there is a sort of relationship between religion and politics, particularly in American politics.
Well, it's interesting because people will bring that together when they want to prove a certain point. But when they don't want to, then they'll say there should be separation of church and state.
Right.
But yet they want to make their political leader seem as though he should be some sort of messiah.
Yes, although I don't think that they're making the connection that that's what they're doing. I think it's unconscious. I
totally agree.
I think Christianity is so embedded in our culture that when people are making messianic claims, people don't really understand what's being done on a surface level. A lot of that stuff works subliminally.
Right.
And you know that's a smart tactic. There it is, right there. Hope.
Right.
Right. Like, and you know, he became this giant messianic figure, and of course, he terrorized the hell out of the Middle East when it was time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff.
What was the line about dance floors of human flesh?
Well, that's a very brilliant way of talking about how we trample people. Right?
Right.
So you got this giant war machine, a sure-footed might
Right.
machine. So what is the result? Well, you have dance floors of human flesh. You're trampling these people underfoot, basically. But it's interesting they use the term dance floors because what happens is we send people off to war. They bomb the shit out of people. But we're over here partying up, having fun, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So dance floors of human flesh. So
Right.
while we're dancing, we're trampling these people underfoot, bombing the shit out of them, killing them, that type of thing. And then on top of all that, you've got the minister who's thumbs upping it all and giving God's blessing. You know, I was a part of that whole thing, man. Like I said, like in 2003, 2004, all that propaganda. Like if you were a dude in the church at that time and you were anything related to the military, forget it. You were a king. There's a lot of incongruous marriages that came about during that period. When I say incongruous, I mean like beautiful women like you ending up with, you know, dudes that were clearly out of, you know, not in their league, but because they were in the military, and the military at the time was like the pinnacle of everything.
Yes, that makes sort
They
of a
were
lot
able
of sense.
they were able to snack themselves a nice little honey. And all they did, you know, it's not like they had a combat OMS. They were making you know, progress reports for, you know, sitting at a desk for 5 years. But hey,
Well,
he's still part of the war effort. Really, really good song.
sure.
Really, really good song.
I guess the women were taking their part too.
What you mean?
And marrying those men. They were proud of them for going and
Oh, yeah, of
fighting
course,
the war.
of course.
So they
Yeah.
give them their beauty.
So this is what the guy says about his swastikas and all that shit. My sun wheels, my swastikas, my whatever you call it's an ancient symbol used basically by every culture on this planet at one time or another for more or less the same reason, to express their adoration for the sun and solar power. Okay. And I gotta let Neil have a little commercial here. If you've been digging these choices, there's always room for new members in the True Cult Alliance should you get access to the Village Discord. There you go, guys. That's a nice little
All right, join up on Patreon for as small as $1 a month. You can join us and join others as they pursue good music choices for us.
Vlad says, considering that the general public knows very little about the history of a pentagram or swastika labels, you are an evil fuck, because that's the modern general view for the most part. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Vlad, but I mean, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's obviously doing it on purpose, and he wants us to talk about him, and we are. I generally, you know, whatever. It is what it is. This song is a 9.8 for me.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to give it.
Really?
Yes, I felt like it was very versatile. It had a lot of little extras to it. So,
Yeah.
yes, 9.8 for me.
9.8. He did a really, really good job. I'm not really worried about his, you know, the designs on his body and all the rest of it. I don't care.
So we decided to let him live. We will not chop off his head.
Yeah, we'll Bath Cherie will let him live for that one. There you are, dear listener. If you are part of the stream, stay tuned. We got more songs coming. If you're not part of the stream, it is what it is. Nothing can be done. We'll see you at 11.
Yes, you missed out on all the fun.
EST. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone. Boo, 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 boo. Yeah, that riff was cold, bro. That riff was crazy. All right, guys. We're setting the clock for 2 minutes. We got another song coming your way from the freaking True Cult Alliance. That song was crazy. That was like, you know, with black metal, it's like, because there's not a lot of candy.
Yes.
When you do have candy, it tastes sweeter. Whereas
Right.
if you take that riff from the first one and you put it in the middle of like a Megadeth song or a Iron Maiden song, like that riff wouldn't stand out. It would
Right.
just be like negligible.
Right.
But because it's a black metal band and you're expecting low production and low musicianship, when you get something like that, it sounds amazing. Just very, very interesting how all this stuff works. The mind is
Facts.
an incredible thing.
All right, let's pull up the next song and let's get right into it.
Well, we have 1 minute left. It's not Transylvanian Hunger, Your Grace. Transylvanian Hunger was the first one we did.
I know that. That's why I have this one pulling up.
King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Is that the next song?
Yes.
Let's see. Sin and Glory. Oh, Meph0rash. You're right.
Of course I'm right.
Huh.
I didn't get to be the queen by being stupid and wrong.
40 seconds left, you losers. So get your drinks, get your water bottles, get whatever you need to get. It's on. We're coming right back. I didn't download that song yet. Talk to the
Goodbye
beautiful
for now.
people.
Oh.
Saying goodbye to them.
Because I thought we were about to start the song and I didn't realize you were not prepared. No, I do not believe this is going to be a Christian song. Let's see, does anybody have any questions for me? Don't ask me how many bloodbaths I've had this month.
Oh, yeah, you're really into that
Danny,
shit.
he was actually going to have some corpse paint on, but unfortunately, he left some cream on his face far too long, and so I was unable to paint up his face as well. So.
All right, guys, we are on the way. Next one coming. Yes, dear listener.
You have joined the stream. The
That
true
you have.
cult stream.
The True Cult stream, ladies and gentlemen. The True Cult is a black metal,
Dark metal.
dark metal,
Blackened dark metal.
black and dark metal alliance.
Evil.
You joined for $1, and
On
these
Patreon.
beautiful people have taken over our live stream. They've taken
Yes.
it over, dear listener.
I too feel taken over.
The name of this song is the name of this band is Meph0rash.
The song is King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Where's Meph0rash? Meph0rash. King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So we're gonna assume that this is about our Lord and Savior, inshallah. We'll see. Let's do it. Whoa. Chill. What is wrong with you? Well, that one
Were you scared?
was interesting.
Were you scared?
Well, that middle interlude, they did a very good job of simulating the guy eating somebody.
Ew.
So there are a couple allusions to Revelation. Perk has one. There's also the Great Supper of God, that you might eat the flesh of kings, of horses, of mighty men.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada. That's Revelation 19 as well. Revelation 19 has Jesus as a warrior who's coming from a battle, and his robes are dipped in blood. Now,
Right. Doesn't the blood go up to the horse's bridle or something?
yeah, but he's covered in blood, and a lot of my more softer Christian friends are like, "Oh, that signifies his death on the cross." No, it doesn't.
Prepare yourself.
It signifies the fact that he's a warrior, and he just came back from jihad and he killed a bunch of people. That's what it signifies. That's just a fact. So, as I've said, it's pretty disgraceful to me that these black metal bands pick up on how metal the Bible is, particularly the Book of Revelation.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of really good, like true type metal that you can use as a Christian. So I mean, good Lord. What in the world? All right.
To be honest with you, I didn't actually read any of the lyrics here, so I'm very interested in.
Yeah, there is some
seeing your interpretation.
Kabbalic sort of allusions, and obviously direct quotations of the Scripture.
So I was certainly just enjoying the sound of the darkness.
Yeah. Perk's got the Yahweh's a man of war thing, and I keep trying to explain to people that in the Trinity, Jesus is the warrior.
Right.
Jesus is the one liable to pull the sword and slice you up in pieces, and the Father is the one that's more like, hey, chill out, relax.
Right.
Like, people
This is
got this whole
absolutely
thing.
true. You got this all twisted up.
Yeah, you got this whole.
Vin's about to drop the knowledge.
You would fare much better in the Old Testament because you had less knowledge, so God was more gracious actually than in the New Testament context. But we don't talk about that.
All right.
Woe is me. That's true. For I have ever been an utter blindfolded seer. For as I witnessed thine eyes of blazing fire, thou fiery seed, the lashing of sacred choirs, my words so unworldly confined. For thy fires of faith art ever fires of truth. I see candlelit vapors rising from his brow, in blare shapes of royal garments like multitudes of crowns. Many were they on his head, and many were there rushing behind him. That's another Revelation interlude, right? Because is that the guy with the many crowns?
Right.
But he was a bad guy.
Many diadems.
Yeah. Well, diadems is the
King James version.
word,
probably.
but again, it's clear that this guy's like hanging out in Revelation 19. Like, he got a lot of inspiration from Revelation 19,
Right.
Because Revelation 19 describes, the rider on the white horse with that type of imagery. I'll put it down here because you guys will see as the song continues.
Oh, look. The blood up the horse's legs on the album
and then look at the dragon that's being
Right.
killed and the woman and all that.
Right.
Yeah, like if you look at the imagery with these guys, you'll see. But here's the
fascinating.
actual text from Revelation 19, and then we'll read it, and then you can see what he's alluding to in the actual lyrics themselves. So in Revelation 19,
Then I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, the one sitting on it called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and makes war. His eyes are like a flame of fire, in his head are many diadems, and and he has a name written that no one knows but himself.
so many diadems would be the crowns, right?
He is clothed in a robe dipped in blood, and the name by which he is called is...
The Word of God,
What?
right? I mean, I don't see it,
Change
but
something, so...
So right here, when he says, right there, I see candlelit vapors rising from his brow in blare shapes of royal garments like a multitude of crowns.
Right.
Many were on his head and many were rushing behind him. And as you see here, he's on a white horse, right? He's clothed in a robe dipped in blood, and name was called. The armies of heaven, arrayed in fine linen, white and pure, were following him on white horses.
Oh, yes.
Right? So when this guy writes, he talks about many were on his head and many were rushing behind him. And he calls them the army of Eden, which is brilliant lyricism. The army of Eden, the wing-clad reapers of Yahweh. What's interesting is it does not say in the text that the warriors behind Jesus are, and it's cool that he calls them Yahweh's army because Jesus is Yahweh. Good one. So at least his Satanist guy is a Trinitarian. So for the wing-clad reapers of Yahweh, like I don't think that the armies of heaven arrayed in fine linen are angels necessarily. I think it's actually a combination of angels and men. And if you look at the intertestamental literature, particularly the ones that talk about the battle between gods and men, there's a very interesting passage in Isaiah where God talks about punishing the powers in heaven and judging the powers on earth. So it's really in it.
So are these people, are they a religious band?
I'm sorry?
Are they a religious band, or did they just...
No, they're a black metal band, but just like all black metal bands, I mean, they know their shit. You know, they know what they're talking about. And, you know, they're into the Kabbalah and all that other stuff. Isaiah 24:21 says it, and it's really interesting. And then during the intertestamental period, this passage was really popular, and it was really expanded to talk about, especially if you look at the Essenes, Dead Sea Scroll folks, they were really, really big on this final battle, the battle between gods and men. And you know, if you were on the good guy team, then you'd be fighting along with angels and men to right there. On that day, the Lord will punish the host of heaven in heaven and the kings of the earth on the earth. So they pick that up in the middle period, in the intertestamental period, as there's going to be this great final battle, and it's going to be a conglomeration of the good guys who make up men and angels, good men, good people and angels, and then the bad guys, which would be bad guys and demons, and there's going to be this big giant clash in heaven and earth simultaneously. It's going to be this great, it's like the Avengers, Thanos, whole nine yards. So that's... And obviously, John is contemporary with all that stuff. So that's the imagery that he saw or he wrote in Revelation.
Okay.
Right? When he talks about the armies, plural, of heaven.
Right.
And obviously, Yahweh, you know, the Lord of hosts is literally Yahweh of armies. So Yahweh has always had multiple armies and a multitude of warriors. And in this situation, it's, you know, back and forth. Then here's Vlad. Oh boy, it all ends in dictatorship, and why wouldn't it? That was a system of government in the ancient world, so their gods followed the same model. Same reason divine beings use swords. Well, God doesn't use like a literal sword in the New Testament. The sword Yahweh uses is his mouth.
Right.
There isn't some giant sort of battle between Satan and Jesus in the New Testament. It says, whom the Lord will destroy with the sword of his mouth.
Right, because if you'll remember, in the Old Testament, when God created the world, he spoke a word and it came into existence. And then you have Jesus when he came to earth and he commanded the sea to be still and it listened to him. And so there's this idea that from his mouth is all his power and he simply has to speak and it is done.
Yeah, I mean, Satan, from a biblical perspective, is upheld because of Jesus's words.
Right.
Hebrews 1 says that Jesus upholds all things by the word of his power. So it's not going to be a giant... Yeah, I love when people use the term like dictatorship to talk about God's rule over the earth. Because again, you're making a category error. God is not... Only human beings can be dictators. Nobody calls like the head... You know the head lion in the jungle? There's no democracy in the jungle. Nobody says, that damn lion, what a dictator. What a dictator. Ridiculous.
Preposterous.
We're not equal to God. We're not even close to God. You are closer... You and I, my brother, are closer to a mound of shit than we are to God.
You mean Scubalon?
Scubalon. Sorry. It's just, look, I like playing around and stuff. Like, it's fun. But, like, let's not get this twisted. If there's really a God, you and him are not equals.
Right.
And if there is a God, the only reason you're alive is because he's giving you the power, the very power that you're using to blaspheme him and complain about how much of a dictator he is the very breath that he's giving you. So if you're literally dependent on a being for your life and your ability to think and reason and move and have your being, that guy cannot be called a dictator. Okay, so they, the army of Eden, the wing clan reapers of Yahweh, for they are the voices in death song, the grand roar of 1,000 woes. Yikes. It's really interesting because my entire life when I read Revelation 19 about the armies of Jesus behind him and he's riding like a warrior, I was like, the first time I read that, I was like, okay, I can work with this Jesus. I can't work with the Jesus who gets crucified and turn the other cheek and all that. This is me when I was a kid. I could never, I was not a fan of the New Testament at all. Like, I camped out in the Old Testament. The Old Testament God was my guy. The New Testament, I'm like, this whole thing, you got to let people beat you up and all that shit. I was like, nah, bro, I'm good. I'm going to hang out with Moses because Moses is like, yo, we strapping on our swords. We going to do jihad. Fuck that. I was like, yeah, okay, we good. Yeah.
Right.
Boy, come here. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then I saw Jesus in Revelation 19. I was like, wait a second.
Well, hold on a minute.
Wait. So I took the Bible. I took the Bible to my mom. I was like, yo, we're going to be killing niggas? She's like, what? I said, it says it's got an army. I was like, we got to be in that army, right? She's like, well, yeah, I guess. I was like, so we going to be killing people? She's like, well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't say we kill anybody. It says Jesus goes and destroys people. So maybe I'm like, well, why would we be on horses and shit? She's like, come on, little Vinny, come on. Like you think you're going to be flying in midair with a horse? Like, it's obviously, you know, metaphorical, blah, 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 which is interesting because my mom was a dispensationalist. But I never, like, it never even occurred to me to think, like, oh, like, these guys could be perceived negatively. Because when you're a Christian, you just grow up, you're only thinking, like, one way. Like, you're only thinking, like, oh, there's good guys and there's bad guys. And obviously, if you're on Team Jesus, you're on the good team. And if you're not, you're bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So so I'm looking at them like, oh, okay, the good guys finally win. Great. But I never thought, like, okay, what if you weren't a Christian at all? You had no idea what this Jesus stuff was. You didn't know anything. All you know is there's some dude. He's very terrifying. He's very bloody. He's just killed a whole bunch of people. And this guy is like 500 million deep. He got a whole bunch of people behind him really to do some damage. Like, you would not automatically say, oh, that's a good guy. Like, you would be terrified if you had no context around what was happening. You'd be completely terrified. So
right. Not to mention if he still has the wounds that he got from when he was here.
Right.
So, like, this sort of version of a zombie almost, holes in his hands and his feet and a gaping hole in his side. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that factual or?
What do you mean by that?
Will he still have those marks?
I have no idea. Look at Vlad. I placed a flaming sword that turned in all directions to keep away the Garden of Eden. Yahweh, don't tell me that the gods didn't use Iron Age technology. Vlad. Those were cherubim. And when it says flaming swords, do you really believe that the original audience looked at that and say, yep, Yahweh smelted these swords and he hammered them out with a blacksmith, and then he put gasoline and set it on fire, and that's how he had a flaming sword? Or do beings like cherubim from other dimensions operate with things from that dimension that we have no reference point for, and so the closest thing that we could relate to it would be the swords because it was in the Bronze Age? Like, you're an intelligent person. If you wanted to, Vlad, you could easily come to that conclusion and come up with that theory by yourself. But because you're so obsessed with pretending that these are just backwoods people that didn't have brains that wrote this stuff, then you're stuck saying silly stuff like that, right? Good Lord. Guys, we've been at this for 2,000 years, right? We've been at this for 2,000 years. Do you really think that people, none of us looked at this and said, oh shit, there's a... It's weird to me sometimes.
Well, I wonder though.
It's strange to me. It's weird.
Yes, but you know how like a lot of modern day Christians don't have a good, solid understanding of their faith, and they, when they're talking about the Trinity, for instance, they say things that are straight heretical, and very easy to. So maybe they see the bumbling Christians nowadays, and they assume that we've had that type of Christianity throughout history.
Right.
And that we haven't had these battles where we have these conversations and these creeds and different things where we have really searched out our faith and we have really come to the conclusion of certain things.
Well, I mean, when you read people like Nietzsche, you don't see stuff like this. Like the stuff that modern atheists, whatever, say. Like, you don't see Nietzsche making those types of arguments.
Right.
Because they're dumb arguments.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, back in the day, if you were going to criticize somebody's position, you had to familiarize yourself with the top of what people were saying.
Right,
now,
you couldn't just call it a straw man argument or a stupid one that I'm not going to answer.
Now you don't have to. Now you see something on the internet or you go to evilbible.com. You've seen it a million times. Atheists say, oh, the Bible says this. I'm like, no, the Bible never says. Yes, it does. And they show them, and then they jump to the next thing.
Right.
So, like,
But as you saw last night, we had a Christian on the line,
That's true.
they were not quoting scripture accurately.
So
you could look at that and you could say
true.
that there are all Christians are like this, and that we don't know what we're talking about, and we don't have anything solid in our back pocket, which this is simply not true. The people that have come before us have been deep searchers of the scriptures and of common sense they don't just have these ideas that and just run with it just because it sounds good, but it actually had to have some substance to it.
Yeah.
And that's what's been lost, I think. And a lot of it, I do believe, is because of the YouTube age. People watch a video and they assume that they know something about a topic. They might watch 10 videos that tell them the opposite of what they believe, and they will go with the one that tells them what they want to hear. We can't be searching for what we want to hear. We have to be searching for the truth.
Yeah. Cherubim are spirits, Vlad. And the Bible explicitly states that spirits do not have flesh and bone. Right? So if a cherubim are swinging around swords, people in the ancient world knew. Like, for example, people in the ancient world knew that their idols were not literally animate beings. What they believed was that the idols were touch points for other interdimensional beings to have intercourse with them. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to... That's why people say, well, what do you think about evolution? I say, I don't know. Or I say, I don't have an opinion. Why? I don't know enough about evolution. I know what Christians say about evolution.
Right.
I know what Christians who are against evolution say about evolution. I know what Christians who are afraid of evolution say about evolution.
Right.
But that's not the same of what actually evolution is. So if you're only getting your information... That's why I spend a lot of time listening to Islamic sources from Muslims.
That is one thing that I learned from you, is that you can't go to the source. You have to go to the source of the people that believe that stuff. Because when I was in college, all the people that were talking to me did not believe the things that they were saying. They were simply teaching me what other belief systems say. And then, much to my surprise, when I would talk to someone who had that belief system, all the things that I learned were not quite as they had seemed. They had a sort of twist to it, a sort of edge that made them so outlandish that when I talked to actual real sources, I really didn't know what I was talking about.
Correct.
And I sort of felt slighted in a way.
Yeah. I mean, and there it is. Okay, so but my point is that he's looking at this episode in Revelation 19. You're a Christian. We're Christians. We've read Revelation 19 our entire lives.
Right.
And we've always been like, God wins and all that. And it's like, well, if you're on the other side, you would not look at it that way. You would look at this as an invading army. Vlad in his current spiritual state is not going to be like, oh, that's great. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, I'm listening to this. I'm looking at and I'm like, shit, that's Revelation 19. I was like, oh. And I like, suspend your Christian goggles for a second and put on the goggles of a person who is on the opposite side.
Right.
And again, there are degrees of hostility to God. Like, there are, the Vatane type bands and people that are like actively, self-consciously hostile to God. And then there are people that are like hostile to God in the sense that they don't believe that God has the right to tell them how to live. So they're not going to go out and do anything crazy and like, sacrifice cats or whatever.
Right.
They just want to be left alone to live their life their way, and God keeps imposing himself on them.
Right.
Okay, so that is a certain kind of hostility. It doesn't look like Vatane type hostility, but there's still hostility. And, you hear this manifested when they'll say things like, you can't judge me or whatever.
Right.
And it's kind of like yesterday, right, where we were talking about judging people, where this guy was judging me saying, I don't think he's a Christian because he swears or whatever, or he cusses, whatever the guy's name was. And people were jumping on him. And I said, look, guys, you guys have been judging me all day. In the sense that people think I'm a good dude, or they think you're nice, or those are all judgments.
Right.
You're just people just upset because the guy had a negative judgment.
Right.
So
that's true.
So what happens is, like, when you have somebody that's like has benign hostility to God or passive hostility to God, they're gonna look at this whole situation as like the ultimate. This is a guy that's screwing with my freedom or whatever. And they're looking at this as a bad guy because they really believe that God doesn't have the right to tell them how to live. Mm-hmm. So even if you say, well, your entire life is contingent on God sustaining you, they don't care. They want to live how they want to live. And so any imposition of that, they get angry about it. So
Right.
they're not looking at Yahweh as, a good person, and they're definitely not looking at the army of Eden as good. It's very, very, the inversion thing is always a thing with Satanism, because Satanism needs us to continue because they can't.
Not a lot of creativity
Not
there.
a lot of creativity with Satanism. So, like, and don't be angry at me. It's true. What original thoughts have Satanists brought to the world? It's all just an inversion of Christianity, which is fine. That's okay. The army of Eden, the wing-clad reapers of Yahweh. That's
yes, we'll take that as a compliment.
Huh?
We'll take it as a compliment. Our ideas are so good, you just take them and flip them.
For they are voices in death's song, the grand choir of 1,000, the grand roar of 1,000 woes. Why are these people so skilled at writing lyrics?
Right. Very, very, yes, very well done.
I agree, Sadie. It's the theistic Satanism that Vatane is a part of is a very, very particular form of Satanism. That's why I said that there is a continuum of hostility to God. 1,000 hooves, 1,000 black halos alight. Come now, all. Come now, none. Come now, ye 23 spawns of Hillel ben Shachar. Hillel ben Shachar is the guy that spoke to Eve in the Shining One. Is the most literal interpretation of that.
That's right.
Yeah,
It did sound familiar to me.
Yeah. So shout out to the homie. Come gather together in the great supper of God, so you may eat the flesh of kings. So that's another direct quote from Revelation 19. And it doesn't just say kings; it says kings and the riders of their horses and mighty men, etc., etc., etc. And then it says the flesh of all men, both small and great,
Right.
free and slave, etc., etc.
Right.
Because Revelation is not playing.
What was the part of the person choking or something? What was
That was the
going
guy
on
was
there?
choking. The guy was choking on the blood of kings. Because right after that it says,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah, and it was really disturbing. You know what I'm saying? It was extremely disturbing.
I must say, even I, who bathe in blood, was a little grossed out by the sound of the choking on blood.
Yeah, yeah. It was extremely disturbing, which I suppose ultimately is the point, right?
Certainly.
Here's Ian. Why is the devil always having sex? Because he's horny.
Oh, Lord. So I certainly really liked this one. I think this one was my favorite, actually, of all the ones we've heard tonight.
This was your favorite one?
Yes, I really liked the sound of it and the feel that it sort of created in the room.
These guys, weirdos, thinking I can be a voice. I'm behind the scenes guy. Let's get the metal on. I don't know, bro. I think you got some stuff that you need to say, though.
So this one brings this one in at a 9.9, actually.
Damn, 9.9.
Yes. I certainly thought it had a lot of great sound to it. Very appreciative of it.
I didn't like this song at all.
Oh.
Not even a little bit.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting.
There's no part of
You
this
should have had your face painted. It would
There's
have
no
made a
part of
difference.
the song that I enjoyed in any way, shape, or form.
What are you giving it?
10. Because 1, the lyrics were great. 2, he confined himself to Revelation 19, which
Right.
is very interesting. 3, he wrote the song obviously to be offensive to Christians. I mean, we were not his only audience, obviously, but obviously he was trying to do that. And I think he accomplished that because I was like, eh. And then 4, I'm just really fascinated with the and again, inversion is something they do all the time, but I'm just very fascinated with how he took that passage, which has been, I think Christians celebrate stuff that were not meant to be celebratory. I don't think that Revelation 19 was written under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit for people to go, yay! Ah! There are good things that happen in the Bible that you're not supposed to just celebrate. Like, so for example, Good Friday. There isn't a bunch of celebrations on Good Friday. Good Friday is usually dark and somber and reflective.
Right.
It's a good situation
Right.
that happened, but it's called Good Friday, but it's dark and somber and reflective. So what happens is, because Christians are so removed from what they're actually reading, they have inappropriate responses to things that I don't believe God intended them to respond that way to. So I think Revelation 19 is supposed to be one of the more tragic moments in Scripture, actually. But because, especially Americans who are generally untouched by war, and when I say Americans are untouched by war, people, what are you talking about? We've been at war for 20 years. Yeah, but have you been touched by war? Are you afraid of an invading army coming in and a massacre? No, you're not afraid of that.
No.
You're afraid of one random terrorist attack away, but you don't believe that your house could be broken into by a bunch of,
Right.
roving, Muslim terrorists or
Right.
whatever. So because
Right.
Americans are so removed from war, when you read passages like that and hear about the death and destruction, we almost treat it the same way we treat a CNN broadcast when it says we just droned 30 people. That's not something you were supposed to celebrate. That's something that I've been trying to find it. This guy, it was the most brilliant thing I've ever heard in my life. And if I find this shit, me and Perkinos are just going to sit and listen to it. You're going to be invited. But the guy was saying that Revelation was actually supposed to be chanted. So he went through the entire book of Revelation. He basically turned the lights off, basically candles, and there was like 30 people in the room, and like people would read a chapter, and the whole place, everybody was just chanting the words. And it just had such an amazing, it was like the most metal thing I'd ever heard in my life. And I was like, damn.
Oh, I bet it was.
That was insane. Yeah.
We could create something like that.
Yeah, but it's like, but we'd have to have like 30 people. It was like 30 people in one room, and they were chanting from 1 to 21.
Right.
And it was mind-boggling. And it was like emotionally, like you went up and down because the book is so mixed with all of these,
Oh, wow.
grand type of, and there was no music or anything. It was just 30 people in a room, and they were just chanting the chapter, and it was unbelievable. I don't necessarily know like how they got the cadence. I mean, the guy was leading it.
Right.
So people could kind of pick up with him, but that shit was crazy. It was unbelievable.
I would love to see that.
It was unbelievable. And as Applejack said, it's like the Quran, which is, supposed to be sung. And that's why when these guys, they do their recitations, it's always very poetic and all that stuff. So,
Wow.
yeah, but this is a 10 because it accomplished everything that it set out to. Plus that little middle part with the guy choking on the blood. Like, if somebody told me, like if Perk told me, yeah, man, behind the scenes, he cut off a chicken's head and drank the blood, like I wouldn't be surprised.
No,
like it sounded,
neither would I.
It sounded really nasty. It sounded really nasty and disgusting.
Right.
And that to me, like that's got to count for something. So that's a 10 for me. I didn't like the song. I thought it was pretty blasphemous and terrible, but as far as the art and what he was going to do, like, it was crazy. I don't know. We might be able to replicate the Revelation. I just want to find it and see how the guy did it, and then maybe we could get Stephen Armoire. If we get Stephen, you with your voice, and then me and I mean, my voice doesn't really work, but yeah, we could do a really cool project with that for sure, and then we can add some music and stuff behind it. I'll talk to Peter. We get Sean in there. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a pretty badass project, I think.
100%.
I'm just assuming that Perk would be down. That's a big commitment. Anyway, that's why it's a 10 for me. Really good song. Very terrible. I'm going to pray for you guys a lot. I'm going to add you guys to my prayer list. Holy smokes. There you are, dear listener. We got one song left. If you're in the stream, we got another song left. Stand by. If you're not in the stream, then you're going to have to hit us up at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Having said that, Vin out.
Sorry out.
Down. That fucking song, bro. Holy shit.
I shall be right back.
That was heavy. You good? Un mas. All right, guys. We got another song coming for y'all. Got to give you guys the real skinny, the real reactions. That's how I felt about it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But that was such a good song, and there is so much more I could have said about that song, guys. But I'm trying to respect everybody's time and such. But holy moly, BM fucking fan! Holy shit! Hey, BM fan. Get me text me the name of one of those avant-garde bands, because we got one more song, and I'm gonna try to squeeze in a bonus song because we only did 4 songs. So if actually, guys, let me hold on 1 second. I gotta shoot a happy birthday video to my dad. You see, I do it on my phone. What a go on, Master Keats? Hey, Pop. Happy birthday. I'll try to call you tomorrow. It's gonna be late, and I know you guys sleep like normal human beings. So I wanted you to know happy birthday. I'm thinking about you. I love you, and I think Dorian, you still owe Dorian that talk, Pop. So you gotta we gotta find a way to figure that out. All right. Also, Pop, if you could text me and tell me what city you're actually in, that would be great, because I'm looking at some stuff. All right. Later, Pop. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy your time. I just shot my dad a birthday video.
Oh, you didn't want to put me in it?
Nah. Nah.
Well, why not, babe?
Nah.
What would he say? Would he be concerned?
Yeah, he would be.
Deeply concerned.
He would be. He's like, what, 76 now or something on the show?
76?
Yeah, shit is.
You told me 70.
Yeah. Yep. 40 seconds, guys.
Whew. I'll tell you what.
Sorry, do you have a theatrical background?
No.
No, she doesn't. She should, though.
No, but as I told you guys previously, we didn't have TV, we didn't have internet, we didn't have anything, so we had to do our own. We had to do our own fun. My mom always had video cameras, and me and my friends would get together, and I wish that my mom hadn't lost them, because, well, maybe she'll come across them.
What?
We recorded, we made these little videos where we were just dramatic.
Sorry
fun.
Is like, you guys have no idea.
I had no idea. Ben's like, do this. I'm like, I can't do that. He's like, do it.
We want to use a fragment from your video, blah, blah, blah. Which one is this? The lawyer is sending me something.
I'm so bummed out that this didn't end earlier.
Why?
Because I was going to do it. I was going to go to Walmart. I was going to have you record me walking through, talking to people. I was going to ask them where the oranges were. Do you have any blood oranges? I was looking for some blood oranges.
Well, we can go to 7-Eleven. that Indian dude would give you some good.
Yeah, that's true. You can record me there.
Yeah, we'll put it up on Patreon.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Let's do it.
All right, we'll put that shit on Patreon. Decibel Omega.
So what you can do, you go in the store first.
Yep.
And be recording.
Yep.
And then I'll come in.
My man BM Fan is in the motherfucking house, bro. I don't know about anyone else, but these last 2 years have induced some of the worst anxiety in me. Yeah, bro. Anxiety is really, really big right now.
It's been tough,
for a lot of people, you know? Like, between what the media is doing with us politically and this COVID shit and just the mental health problems of being locked in. You know, I look back at 2020, I'm like, man,
Bye, Bradley.
I wish we had done this format last year. So I think it would have been really good for us.
Absolutely. For everybody.
And our folks.
For everybody. Yeah. We just, you know, it didn't come to us till this year.
Yeah. It didn't come to us this year, but yeah.
Although, to be honest, I'm not sure how well I would have done with it last year.
I agree with that. True. Everything happened when it was supposed to. All right, guys, we got one more True Cult song. COVID has made the streets worse. That's definitely true. Definitely true. People are taken out. When the time comes, can I put in for a birthday stream? Yes, AT, you can.
Message me and we'll get it set up and I'll get you on the schedule for that day. So if
there's a DJ stream where you guys like have a specific particular day that you want, please do it like early, because I really want to come through on those days. I really do. Not that other days aren't important, but if it's your birthday or something,
yeah, for sure.
I really, really want to come through. So,
Ripple,
it's on Halloween.
It took me like 2 hours because I really didn't know what I was doing. It was the first time I used this paint, and the videos that they were saying, like, this paint is not really that good. And I don't know what the frig Danny Filth uses, but like if I come close, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it.
Why don't you just ask Lindsay?
Can I see? Is it blurry? Too blurry? It's not like I think from you guys' angle, it looks like pretty smooth, but it's really not. It's like all.
I mean, there's some gaps and stuff. But.
There's a lot of gaps. It wasn't, but then as it dried, it just like you put this powder on it, like they call it a setting powder. But every time I put the setting powder, it just seemed to like dry everything out, and then it would start cracking off, which was annoying. So probably like this, if I had to redo this on somebody's face, I could probably do this in 25 minutes. But because it was the first time, and like you can see that, like this is not even. So like it was harder to like look in the mirror and draw it on my own face because everything is flipped, and I've not done stuff like this before except for like 2 years ago when we did it. Yeah. So I don't have enough practice at it to really be good, but it's still good. I like art, so it's still good, but it could be better.
Nobody would listen to my stream here, which makes me really sad. You've got a stream? I'd listen to your stream, Amy Lee. What are you talking about?
No, I think she means if she had a stream, a DJ stream. And you're wrong. People would listen to it.
Yeah,
they come for us.
We do it.
Just kidding.
Hello, dear listener.
All
this
right.
is Vin, who's still a Christian.
I'm Meph0rash.
This is Meph0rash. And we are listening to...
We are your local reactors coming to you from Maine.
Ulver.
Yes.
Hymn 1, Wolf and Fear.
This is for True Cult. They are one of our alliances. If you're interested in joining up, follow us on Patreon. And you can get in for as little as $1 a month. And you can join in all the fun and pick our songs for us.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we're about to do this one, Wolf and Fear. So...
There we are. Wolf and Fear by the band Ulver, whatever you call it. And
don't forget to check on Patreon later. All of our patrons that are there now or there later will be able to see a video of me going into our local convenience store dressed like this.
Should be interesting. Let's go. Wolf and Fear.
bloody hell.
Such good musicians. I honestly want to stop what I'm doing right now and just get my guitar and work on some tremolo shit.
I just want to throw up because I didn't like this song.
Well, the song isn't done yet, so wait. There's 20 seconds left.
What?
Okay, Slaughter to Prevail, Baba Yaga, everything about Russia in one music video. They sound way better than this stuff. Well, I mean, they're better produced, right? It's a better produced. The Baba Yaga song is a better produced song. And I get what you're saying about it being better, but this is a different genre, and so there are different markers that you have to use to judge what's good or not. You see what I'm saying?
I disagree with you. I think that this is never, ever going to be allowed back in my court again. All for their heads.
This song?
This band.
We should have that little...
All they had was a middle section that I really liked a lot. And then at the very end, after I'd already taken out my headphones. But still, those were the only two parts that I liked. Everything else I just thought was straight trash, and I did not appreciate it at all.
Trash?
Trash. I really did not
You didn't like
it.
the progression?
No, I rejected all.
You didn't like the tremolo sound?
I only liked those
You like
two
that,
parts.
the acoustic
the
middle?
part that sounded very good. Some fun going on in there. And then at the end, I liked the sound of it there. But that's all. I did not like anything else in the song, and I thought it was absolute trash.
Trash.
And I'm telling
Rubbish.
you. Rubbish.
That's British for garbage?
Yes, it's British for garbage, because I will not allow this in my court again. Never, ever bring something so trashy to me ever again. I'm sorry for whoever picked this, but no. No, I reject this entirely. But we can go into the lyrics. Perhaps I'll up the score if they did a proper job on that, but certainly not for the sound.
I think Stabbed Cats. It was Stabbed Cats.
Stabbed Cats. I'm so sorry. I just don't think that we have the same type of musical.
You know what I think?
taste.
You know what I think? I think this is what I call the Slipknot effect, where Slayer wanted to go on before Slipknot on Tattoo the Earth because going after Slipknot.
Well,
the song that
that's
we just
possible.
The song that we just listened to before.
Yes.
I mean, aside from Magua and Batushka, who are just on a separate thing for me because it's personal with me with Magua and Batushka. But the previous song that we just listened to is probably the best black metal song we've ever heard, period.
It was really good.
It was just theatrical, everything, black metal. I mean, I completely hated it. My righteous soul. It vexed my righteous soul.
Shh. That's not right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll throw in with you there. But it was it was good.
It vexed my... Yeah, it's supposed to. Right?
Right.
So...
Right.
And then we listen to this song, and I just
have too much paint on my face for me to actually feel vexed.
The previous song was just so good and so dynamic that I think this song following it is going to lower the score.
Right.
I think if this was song...
What in the world just happened?
If this was song 3, you would probably be nicer to it.
Or, no. It would have to be song 1 for it to be better. Because I liked all of the songs, really. This is the only one that I haven't liked. So if we would have started out with this one, then perhaps... Because I don't have... Like, in my mind, when I hear dark, black, metal, all that stuff, it's not something that really pulls my heart from my chest. It's not really my genre. But... So I was sort of expecting a certain feel in the song, and then when it wasn't there... You know, and the other songs were just so great. And so I expected them to all be like that. This is more the typical, what I don't like. So, I reject this. And again, never ever bring this into my courts.
But that riff, though, that main riff, especially like with the tone, the tones sounded different. The tremolo stuff is usually lower and warmer. This one was kind of high-pitched. You generally don't hear it. I don't know what that setting was, but it sounded awesome. There isn't much stuff that you can do. I mean, the instrument is the instrument, and people are like experimenting with different tones and things like that. It makes me love metal, but I I think, again, because we listen to the song so closely to the previous song, I just think it's going to have a very hard time to compete.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, just
that's the shit I don't like. With the Chief Keef. Yeah. So look, man. You know, it was a decent song. You guys will see in the rating, but I just think it had a very hard time. And I want to tell the other. What was the other? Was it Meph0rash? King of the Kings, Lord of Lords by this band Meph0rash, and it was just such a good song. Lyrically, it was insane. Sonically, it was beautiful. So,
right.
Then to end on this song
Right.
is kind of difficult.
Right. You know, it's just yes. But,
Okay,
I mean, let's get into the lyrics and see what. Perhaps we have something here that
Yeah,
of
but
some substance.
I think
that
the
we can
main
use.
riff there, you know, I think 75 said it was airworm shit, which is true. Like, it just stays in your air. Anyway,
All right.
when I first got my guitar, and I you know, because Got the Life is my favorite song, so I was trying to replicate it. It sounded terrible.
Right.
But that's when I discovered, like, how beautiful tremolo picking can sound and everything. And so, like, that's all I would write for, like, a good solid year was just tremolo shit the entire time. And I came up with some really good shit. I forgot all of it. Because you know how I am, like, oh, that shit. And then I get my phone
Right.
and
Actually, I have some recordings on my phone of you.
of my stuff?
Sure.
On guitar?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So, amongst men, words went of the full moon's woe. When a dirge did rise to her skylit eye from the lone winter's cold, they feared that the wolf was nigh, awakened its majesty of old. Nights did pass when men claimed they saw in her light that she splits with the shadow he casts. The shadow of a force unknown, howling at its god in splendor infernal, the devil's herald, he hunted the land. This is translated, by the way. And many a man disappeared. Where she shines, he binds. The wolf of hell. He kills over the rumbling abyss. The curse of Curtain, or Shurtain. The beast below bestowed on him a gift, and by magic he to wolf was bound. No more was he a slave to God, at midnight treading on hollow grave. Okay, so it looks like somebody said, like, this is a story. This is a story song. You know what I mean? It's one of those.
No,
songs
they said it's a story album.
right. A story album.
And at that
right.
point,
So-
I said, I don't want to know your story.
So go to the track list.
All right.
No, it's right there. Go back. You see where it says view track list? Right there.
Yes,
left.
but this is not the right song.
Subhanallah. Yeah.
I have it here.
No, just go. I just want to see what song on the record it is. So if you could just go back to Genius and you just put Ulver, Wolf, and Fear in there, we'll see what song it is. But it looks like this girl is kind of like she's being used to lure the men in, and then the wolf goes and eats them. Is that what you got from it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not get anything from it except that it was trash. Honestly, that's really what happened.
Okay,
Honestly.
but I'm looking at the lyrics.
Yes,
though.
I know, but I haven't read the lyrics. That's what I'm saying to you.
Okay.
So here they are, and here it is on Genius. What is it that you want here?
I want the album itself.
Right.
He's saying it looks like it's the first record.
The first song?
The first song on the record, yeah.
Oh.
What's the name of that album? I cannot believe that Genius completely just ruined this, man.
I'm not sure why they did.
It was perfect the way it was. I don't
Right.
Wolf. Okay. Anyway, I'm done
All
with
right.
that. I'm done with that. Okay, so it looks like that's what it looks like to me. It looks like that she is there to lure the guys in. Amongst men, words went of the full moon's woe. When a dirge did rise to her skylit eye from the lone winter's cold. They feared that the wolf was nigh, awakened its majesty of old. Nights did pass when men claimed they saw in her light that she splits with the shadow he casts. The shadow of a force unknown, howling at its god, etc., etc. And many a man disappeared. Where she shines, he binds. So it looks like she's like attracting the men, and then the men go after her, and then they consume. Then they get consumed by the werewolf, and then I guess he's killed a certain amount of people, and then he gets set free after, because at the end of the song, it looks like he gets set free. So there you go. So it looks like she was just there to kind of,
It's sort of like an evil version of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. The curse is, I think the word there is supposed to be certain. The curse is certain. The beast below bestowed on him a gift. Yeah, so we're trying to like figure out this song, and the song's kind of weird lyrically, but sonically, I think that was the star of the show.
Right.
I love the sound. You didn't like the sound?
Not at all. Not at all.
What about the tremolo part? You didn't like the tremolo part? You know, the ding, ding, when they introduce the tremolo part, like in this. Here, I'm gonna play that part again.
Yes.
This right here.
No, I don't like that.
No, you didn't like it.
I don't like that.
Oh man! All right. Well,
I don't.
Well, I mean, it is what it is.
It certainly is. So, what are you giving this song?
This song is getting a solid 8.8 from me.
That's just ridiculous. This is a solid 3 for me.
Yikes. The treble is pretty harsh, I'm not gonna lie. All right. Well, and so ends the black metal night. All the songs were really, really good. I just think that last song was such a special song that we probably should have heard that one last.
Right.
Because I think this one would have got a higher score from both of us if it wasn't following up that Meph0rash song. But that Meph0rash song was just so good and different, and really just I haven't been really moved emotionally by a song. If you could say that disgust is an emotion, it probably is. But that middle part when the guy was like the choking on the blood sound and all the rest of it, like that's and people could say it's gimmicky or whatever, that's fine. But this is the first time in a long time when I've been like genuinely, legitimately disturbed by something that I've heard.
It's probably the mix of my paint and that sound.
What do you mean?
My face.
Yeah, the riff was insane. The riff was crazy on this song. I completely disagree with you on that last song. Like, that tremolo thing was crazy. And I know people are going to say, well, you're a sucker for tremolo anytime somebody does tremolo. That's not true, though. Like, there are some bad tremolo progressions that I do not like. But this one was good. It just that band was very, very hard to follow. Very hard to follow. And that band, if they, Meph0rash, whatever they are, if they ever got like a bunch of money for them to do a stage show, like, I feel like between them and Vatane, it would probably be the most disturbing
yes,
stage show that you could see. But one of those situations where you really can't
look away.
Yeah, look away, but you want to. I think Ulver's track was great, but it's let down by the mix. They should re-record the song. And I think that's always a risk with black metal. I think that's always going to be a risk because you're always trying to like cut the line very fine between overproduction and a good sound. But I could tell that progression, that sounded really, really good. I really, really loved it. But yeah, Ulver. I feel bad for y'all that was your last pick, because if you flipped it, then things would be different. Okay, we've got I didn't tell Soraya this, so she's probably gonna murder me. But we've got a bonus pick.
I fucking hate you.
BM fan. Thanks for the birthday anniversary. I am in Penbook Prime. That's the zip code. Okay, perfect. So he did message me. Who did I just ask for? Is it BM fan?
Mm-hmm.
I told that bitch. I said, "Yo, call me. Hey, what's the name of that song?" Let me call him. See. You bloody hate him. of that song. It was a, what do you call it? He's been asking me, hey guys, he's been asking me for this song for a year. All right, let me see. I'm just going to take, let me see. BM Fan. Where is it? FAN. All right, let's see. Let's see. If you want something you haven't done, the Imperial Triumphant. Okay, Imperial Triumphant is what we'll do. Stand by. Deathspell Omega, A Chore for the Lost. Oh, okay, so he changed it. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, guys. Deathspell Omega, A Chore for the Lost. Bonus song coming up. These guys are avant-garde. I don't know if they're death metal, black metal. I don't know what they are, but they're very strange. There you go. 2 minutes, A Chore for the Lost. We will be coming up to you guys very, very soon. What's going on, dear listeners? Your boy Vin in the house.
Sorry here.
Okay, guys, we got a bonus track for you. The name of this band is Deathspell Omega. The name of the song is A Chore for the Lost. This is for the True Cult. This is a bonus song from the True Cult, and for one of the big homies. Who's the big homie?
BM Fan is what you said.
Oh yeah, the big fan, the big homie BM Fan. Hey BM Fan, you owe me, bro. Drummer is crazy! Wow. Ooh, that one. I'm gonna listen to this song a lot on my own.
I knew it.
On my own time. Well, just because I think this song is too dense to catch all of, like BM Fan was saying, he legit hears something new every time he listens to this song. And there's just so much in it that, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I would agree.
And exhausted, fall into disgrace, famished for peace. That's a crazy line. Famished for peace.
I really, really like that line.
Like there's a peace famine in the world. That is true.
It is very true.
There is a peace famine in the world. SubhanAllah. For a mere moment of respite in dying eternities. Woo. On the verge of being deprived of all humanity, nonsense is the outcome of every possible sense. It is the start of transcendence. That's God. The dissolution that spreads without limits and the critical violation. What pleasures of inconceivable purity there is in being an object of abhorrence for the sole being to whom destiny links my life. What? The rupture is too profound to stand up. Nothing remains but a terrified consolation in a laughable renunciation that is not the one of a single man. Thou art not dead to the devoration of sin. So this is a guy who is dealing with some serious guilt and sin issues, who has a sort of passive resentment towards God, but he's afraid of him, so he has to kind of serve him, and now he's stuck in between. So an exhausted fall into disgrace.
Right.
Usually it's a fall from grace.
Right.
Usually they say somebody fell from grace.
Right.
He's falling into disgrace, but it's exhausting. He's tired. And he needs famished for peace, which obviously from a Christian point of view, you're never going to have peace when you're outside of God's will for your life. And that's one of the greatest signs of God's graciousness and his goodness, is the fact that it's very interesting. He assigns a certain portion of peace to everybody, whether or not they're a believer.
Yes.
But he denies a certain degree of peace for people who are farther away from him. And that might look like a punitive thing to do, but that's, again, because many of us have never been parents. Because there's a lot of things that you can do when your child is going the wrong way. But one of the things that you want to do is disrupt their life. So you have a schedule, you play Fortnite, you do whatever, but you're doing this thing that's going to be injurious to you now and in the future. So I'm going to disrupt that. And so now you can't play Fortnite. So now your little equilibrium is a little messed up, and now you've got some thinking to do.
Right.
So you do things as a parent to make sure that your kid is unhappy with actions and attitudes that are going to destroy and ruin them. So, like if God is a good father, then yeah, we would expect him to give some sort of combination of peace and lack of peace and make a person miserable when they're outside of his will, because they're setting themselves up for a miserable eternity.
Right.
But if you're not on one, if you've never been a parent, you've never seen this really play out from the perspective of a parent, right?
It certainly is different.
It's a lot different. So he says, famished for peace, for a mere moment of respite in dying eternities, on the verge of being deprived of all humanity. Nonsense is the outcome of every possible sense. I don't know if that one right, and I don't know when it says humanity right here, like, is it a double? Like, is humanity talking here?
Right. That's what I thought.
Nonsense is the outcome of every possible sense, which is, I mean, I guess if the nihilists are right, that's correct to some degree, right? Because when you die, you lose all your senses.
Right.
So it's the outcome of every possible sense. And it is also the start of transcendence, because if you die, you lose all your senses, all your physical senses, but then the transcendental nature of you begins to become paramount. In this dimension, the transcendental, and what we call transcendence is really, what we're really talking about, transcending dimensions, right? The reason, I was having this conversation a couple days ago with the big homie Dan, shout out to the homie. The reason that when people start talking spiritually, they don't have the words for it is because we're in the third dimension. We're three-dimensional beings, and the beings that we're interacting with that we call spiritual beings are beings in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 26th dimension, whatever dimension, how many dimensions you think they are. And because we don't consciously, I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says it's possible that we're in other dimensions now, but we're not conscious of the fact that we're in those other dimensions.
Oh my goodness.
Which I agree.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
I agree, Mr. Tyson. So I think what they're saying is when you die, what we call death is simply you're moving away from life in the three-dimensional.
It's a transition
world
of sorts,
and you transition to
right.
dimension 4, 5, 9, whatever you want to call it. But then now you've transcended and you've lost all your senses in this world. It's a brilliant story, the way that he put it. The dissolution that spreads without limits into critical violation. I'm assuming that is the effects of sin in the world, because these guys are extremely familiar. I mean, he talks about the logos and all this stuff here. They're damn near a Christian band. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very, very interesting stuff. The rupture is too profound to stand up. Nothing remains but a terrified consolation and a laughable renunciation that is not the one of a single man. Thou art not dead to the devoration of sin. So I think what he's saying here is the gap between man and God because of sin is too far to cross. We can't bridge that gap. And you can renounce sin all you want, but you're not dead to the devoration of sin. Namely, you're still devouring sin. It's not that, which obviously I agree. It's not that people are like sinning and like God is grading people at a very like rigid curve. It's we devour it.
Our feet are quick to shed blood.
Yeah, like we devour sin. It's not like a lot of us like we want to believe that we like make a mistake once or twice a day or something like that. Not realizing that, if the Bible is right, that we devour sin, like we swim in it, like we're in it from morning to night. And we think that we're okay because there are other people that devour sin at they have bigger bellies than us, so they're able to devour sin at a higher degree than we can't. I was listening to a clip from Howard Stern, and it was this guy, and he talked about how he killed all these women, these prostitutes. And he called up the show. This is 1997. He called up the show, and they talked for about 15 minutes. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I kill people. That's what I do." He's like, talk to
He was not caught?
There's one guy. Well, it's funny because, I thought, Howard Stern, it's a scam or whatever. But apparently the FBI contacted Howard Stern and, like, took all the data they could. And, like, a year or two later, a guy got arrested but there's still a mystery as to whether or not the guy ever got caught.
What?
But he was talking about, like, he was just explaining, like, killing. And then they were saying, well, do you have any tattoos? And he said, I would never do that to myself.
Right.
Like it just but the way that he was talking, it was just like
why would he not do that to himself? Because it would be something that would make him stand out, or is he saying because he would not want to inflict that sort of pain on himself while all the while he's killing other people?
Holy shit, Delaney just listened to that. Yeah, he killed the guys with the hammers. Delaney, like, you're young, you shouldn't be listening to that shit. Holy shit. But yeah, that's exactly the one. That's exactly the one that it was. That's what he was saying. And like I said, a year later, they caught a guy in the area that was responsible for 20 murders.
You're not answering my question, though. My question
sorry.
was, why would he not tattoo himself? Is it because he doesn't want to inflict himself with that pain?
Yeah.
Or is it because he doesn't want to be recognizable?
No, I think it's because of the pain. Because they asked him another question where they were like, whatever. He's like, oh, no, I wouldn't. It was basically something to put himself in danger or something like that. He's like, oh, I would never do that to myself. No. Like, and he was just very matter of fact talking about killing these girls. Like, it was unbelievable. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But, so my point is, there's always somebody that we can look at and go, well, that guy, holy shit, that guy's horrible.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
it's crazy.
Well, that's because what we do is we have this sort of scale, and on the scale is like the worst person that we can think of is over here.
Right.
And over here is God, who's absolutely perfect, but
Right.
we don't see where we are, how far we are from the perfection of
Correct.
God. We look at how far we are from the destruction of that other person, and so we feel better because we are not so bad.
Right.
Instead of realizing how far we are from perfection, and then feeling, seeking out some sort of redemption, I suppose you could say, from our own evil. We'd rather look at someone else and say we are good compared to them.
Yeah.
And there's always someone else to look at. There's always someone else to find that's worse than you.
Yeah. Well, to Delaney's point, she's right. He said he didn't want to miss the next Batman movie. That's what it was. They had asked him some question. He's like, nah, man, I ain't trying to miss the next Batman movie. Like, it was just very, like, matter of fact, whatever. It's definitely from a religious perspective. Sin, I don't know if he... sin is a religious concept. You've offended or disobeyed God. In order to admit that one is a sinner, you'd first have to acknowledge a God. I mean... Yeah, this is another strange thing. People say, like, what have you learned from atheists or whatever since you started the channel? And I've learned a lot of positive things. This argument, like the whole sin argument, that a lot. And again, this is not like most atheists, but I just think it's a silly argument because now you're getting caught on nomenclature. Right. I don't care what you call it. Sin, being a bad person, being a good person.
Right.
So-and-so didn't deserve that. So-and-so deserved that. All of that is operating from the same rubric. That there's a law, that if a law is violated, there should be some recompense.
Right.
The only difference, though, Vlad, is that you don't believe that God has a right to impose laws on us. So you have your own set of laws that you determine whether or not a person's good or bad or not, and whether or not they deserve a punishment and how severe that punishment should be. All of us operate in that framework. I just think it's a weak argument. And it doesn't really help anything for anybody to deny the concept of sin because everybody has a concept of sin. Sin simply means to miss the mark. That's all. That's literally all it means.
Call it what you want, but
there's a story. It's an archery. It's a term that was used in archery. So like that's the So like I just don't understand that. To me, I always say, like, how would I argue if I was in that position? I would never argue that position. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't matter what you call it. Everybody knows that this dude who's nonchalantly talking about murdering these women,
right,
but not wanting to get caught because he wants to see Batman. I don't give a fuck where you're from. I don't care what you call it. Everybody knows that that's bad.
Right. Certainly.
So what do you call that? Being bad. Okay, fine. We'll call it bad instead of sin. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Tomato. It's all the same.
It's just a silly... And of course... Vlad, you obviously have a template of what good is and what bad is and what punishments should come from it. The question is, on what are you grounding that in? All you can ground that in is your opinion. You have no objective standard by which you can actually make that determination, bro.
Right. You reject the idea that there is such a thing as sin, but why do you reject that?
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously... of course, all religions have a concept of good and evil, and so do secularists. Secularists have a concept of good and evil too.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you reject the idea that there is such a thing as sin because you think it's bad to think that something is sinful,
right?
You see what I'm saying?
That's inherently contradictory.
Right. Exactly.
It's self-stultifying. Yeah, and I just think it's a bad.
We just need people to stop thinking things through, please.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
What happens, honestly, our school systems and everything, we've rejected the idea of logic and following arguments through to their inevitable end. And so because we have abandoned that, we have thoughts pulling out everywhere and everybody's just jumping on all these things and not thinking about the ramifications of all the shit we're saying.
Yeah. Well, the difference is, Vlad, is that these are not my opinions, right? Either the Bible is the word of God and Jesus is truly God in the flesh, very God of very God, true light of true light. And if that's the case, then everything he says is right. It didn't come from me.
Right.
Now, if Jesus is not who he said he was, then I'm dead wrong. That's not my opinion. Either Jesus is right or he's wrong. And if Jesus is right, I'm only right insofar as I agree with him. If Jesus is wrong, then the whole thing is wrong. But either way, you can't say it's my opinion. It didn't come from me.
Right.
Let us be a blight on the okay, every human being not going to the extreme limit is a servant of the enemy of man and the accomplice of a nameless obscenity. I think that is talking about attaining some sort of righteousness from hyper asceticism. You know, like we're gonna do these extreme ascetic things. We're gonna not drink water for 2 days. You know, we're gonna do all these types of crazy, things, and that's gonna solve the problem. And if you're not doing these extreme, like the flagellation stuff, if you're not doing these extreme things, then you're not really serious. There are religious people, and I don't know what the psychology is, but every religion kind of has that. You have ascetics in Islam. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. There was one of my favorite Muslim dudes, Abu Darda. Abu Darda was a high-ranking Muslim dude, but he was an ascetic. So when Muhammad and all the rest of those guys conquered Mecca and all that, he went off into the woods. Nobody could find him. Yeah. Muhammad said, may Allah have mercy on Abu Darda, because he basically said he's going to die alone with nobody. Because he was just so rigid. Oh, wow. He was so rigid that he couldn't stand to be around anybody.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was basically, he had to it was just a sort of it was a sort of prophetic coincidence that these guys were walking in the forest where he was, and Abu Darda had just died. And there was nobody to bury him, do his janazah, anything like that. And it so happened these guys were walking in the woods, and they found him. And his wife was like, "This is Abu Darda." They're like, "This is Abu Darda, holy shit!" So they did janazah and everything for the guy. But yeah, every religion has this in their with their followers. There's always a group of people that are like, nah, this is too easy. Let's just jump onto the aesthetic train and let's just do a bunch of craziness. So in Colossians, Paul addresses it. He says, talking about the full riches and full assurance and understanding of the knowledge of God's mystery, which is in Christ, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And this is why, because the Gnostics, everything was about gnosis, knowledge. They had the secret knowledge that the regular Christian didn't have. So that's why Paul says that. Then he says in verse 4, I say this in order that no one may delude you with plausible arguments. For though I am absent in body, I'm with you in spirit, rejoicing over your good character, firmness, faith in Christ, etc. So that's the setup, is that these people were really, really, really dragging people down with this asceticism. So Paul sets it up there, and then he talks about this. And this is really, really interesting because a lot of people think that this is Christianity, when in reality, Paul is speaking against this form of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And here it is. Paul says in Colossians, he says, if with Christ you died to the elemental spirits of this world, why, as if you were still alive in the world? Now that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Paul is saying, why are you acting like you're still alive in the world?
Right.
Well, whatever do you mean, Paul? I think Mr. Hoffman has an answer. But we continue. Why do you submit to regulations? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. So this harsh, ascetic, don't do anything that brings you pleasure. Don't handle anything. Don't taste anything. Don't touch anything. We've got a guy that he's a Hindu Bhakti yoga practitioner, and he believes that, the more pleasure you have in the world, the worse it is for you. Referring to things that are all perish as they are used. According to human precepts and teachings, these have indeed an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-made religion and asceticism and severity to the body, but they are of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh. Mm-hmm. So Paul is saying, yeah, you guys can do all this asceticism. You can beat your body, and you can do all types of terrible shit, go on these 50-day fasts and not drink water and not have sex and get married and deprive your wife of your body. You can do all this shit, but it's not going to change who you are inside. You're just doing all this shit on the outside. And you think because you're suffering that means that God is going to say, well, they're suffering. Mm-hmm. It's like, no.
Right.
Jesus already suffered for you.
Right.
So what is your asceticism going to do to add to that?
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is that by depriving your body that's not going to necessarily feed your spirit. It's absolutely not going to.
Right.
And so when you think that something is going to bring you some sort of reprieve, and it doesn't do that, in fact, you find yourself in the opposite situation, I think it creates more of a mess than anything else, because you started to deprive yourself of all these things, thinking that it was somehow going to spiritually make you a better person, but instead it just kind of sort of makes you a more craving person.
Correct.
Because that is not satisfied
Correct.
within you, of your spirit.
Correct.
And so it's you can't watch a picture of running water and expect that to take care of your thirst.
Correct.
You have to drink the water yourself.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
That's good. Holy moly. Okay, sorry. I see you. AT says, why is knowledge seeking the first sin? Knowledge seeking was never the first sin. Disobedience was the sin.
Right.
And again, a lot of us will understand this stuff when we become parents. When you become a parent, there's certain knowledge that your child is not ready for. So you are able to stagger the knowledge that you give to your children.
Right. Keep in mind, Adam and Eve were not born as babies. They were brought into the world as full-grown adults. So even though their bodies were big, they were still just coming into the understanding of things. And so God was going to stagger that information and bring that to them as he saw fit.
Now here's Vlad. My Bible says it's the heart and kidneys. Science, it's the brain. He's talking about the seat of consciousness. No, Vlad, science has not definitively proven that consciousness resides in the brain. As a matter of fact, it's called the hard problem of consciousness. You can read Dr. Don Hoffman, and as he articulately talks about the fact that we literally in 2,000 years have not come any closer to solving the hard problem of consciousness. Vlad, you have to believe that consciousness spontaneously arose from dead matter.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's literally impossible. It's illogical. Science will never discover that because it's impossible,
ridiculous.
As Hoffman says, to boot up consciousness from matter. So, again, this is one of these situations where, Vlad, you obviously have an emotional issue between you and God, or you and representatives of God, which is great, but don't try to mask that with the scientific community, because it's clear that you haven't done the research. No, you cannot definitively show me that consciousness resides in the brain. That is an assumption because you're a physicalist. But you have to establish. I'm not even going to get into this debate, but Vlad, can you show us? Can you call us up right now and tell us all that matter is fundamental, and you know that matter is fundamental? Because I'm assuming you're a physicalist. You know that matter is fundamental, and that you can explain to all of us how you get consciousness booted up from dead matter. I'm not even going to try to have you solve the origin of life problem. The origin of consciousness, I think, is a much bigger problem. So explain that to us. And why does chocolate taste like chocolate? These are all basic things that we haven't even begun to be able to explain. So this silly idea that you can just go, it's the kidneys. Do you really believe that these people literally thought that their seat of consciousness was in their kidneys? Or because the kidneys and the heart is inside of you and invisible, yet has real effects, is that what they were going for? So in Ezekiel 36, when God says, I will take out your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh, can you show us church fathers from time immemorial and Jewish rabbis who've interpreted that literally, that God's going to literally do open heart surgery on you? Can you provide us that? It's Ezekiel 36, 21 through 26. Can you provide us a church father who literalized the term heart there, Vlad? Now, I'd advise you onto the show, Vlad, but I think all of us know that you're not going to come on the show. But these are questions you should ask yourself. And it would be good for you if you ask yourself those questions before you whatever. And look. Yet Vin always yells at me. Was I yelling at him, dear listener? Was I yelling at him?
No, certainly not. What a most ridiculous thing to say.
Weekend Tinner. We continue. Let us be a blight on the orchard and all orchards of the world. Even the least of these words will be judged during the times of reckoning. Damn, this dude is crazy. So what he's saying, so this is really interesting. So there's all this asceticism, right?
Right.
Every human being not going to the extreme limit is a servant of the enemy of man and the accomplice of a nameless obscenity, right? So then that's hyper asceticism. So what is the reaction to hyper asceticism? Because most of us don't have it within us to be that way. What's the next thing? Then let us be a blight on the orchard, on all orchards of this world, even the least. Because he's saying, I can't do that. He knows that he doesn't have the capacity and the capability to live that kind of a life. So he's saying, if this is the only way to be right with God, then I'm out. Right. And this is why Paul railed so hard against asceticism. Right there. So here's Vlad. Vlad, get on the stream. Here, Vlad, I'll give you a link. I'll give you a link, Vlad, and then you can get on.
Yes,
the, you can
do
get on
call
the stream.
in. We'd love to chat with you.
Yeah. Call in, Vlad, because you know your stuff, right? And you were quote unquote yelled at. There is the link. Vlad, come on, let's have a discussion.
You're welcome to yell back.
Because I brought up the hard problem of consciousness, and instead of answering the question, Vlad, you're accusing me of yelling at you. Vlad, there are people here that get me amped in this forum. There are. You're not one of them. You're not one of them. Okay. So the guy is saying, look, we can't be like this, so let's just be corrupt. But look what he says. Even the least of these words will be judged during the times of reckoning.
Oh, wonderful! This is absolutely wonderful.
This is Black Sun. Say words. Say. Is this Vlad?
We can't hear you.
Hey.
Okay.
Unmute yourself.
Who's this?
It's Black Sun.
Who?
Black Sun.
What's going on, Black Sun?
Black Sun?
Oh, nothing. I'm from the neighborhood atheist. I had to chime in.
Okay. All right. So this is not Vlad.
No, it's not Vlad, but I'll step in. Shoot, I'll step in. Why not?
Okay. So what's your deal, bro? What are you on? What you claiming?
What I'm claiming is that, you just asked them about matter and consciousness. At the end of the day, it's all a belief system. So you can talk about, science versus like religion. At the end of the day, it's like if I tell you I have a pink unicorn in the trunk of my car, it's up to you to believe that. It's a belief system. And it's, the burden of proof is, okay, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have we ever seen a conscious being come from any other being other than another conscious being?
Slow that down. You went too fast.
Yeah, I didn't answer I didn't ask the question properly. Let me try it again. Have we ever seen a conscious being that derived their consciousness not from another conscious being? Has there ever been a time when we've seen somebody that's conscious that wasn't sired by another conscious agent, is what I'm saying?
I'm a little confused about the question.
In other words, if you run into somebody who's conscious, right, like awake and has self-awareness, don't you assume that person has a parent? You don't assume.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right. Okay.
Right. So we've never seen consciousness come from anything other than another conscious being, is what I'm saying.
Right, but as an atheist, I make the same argument when in the Bible it talks about Jesus rose from the dead. Have you ever seen a person be beheaded and then come back to life?
Well, Jesus wasn't beheaded, but let's stay with that. There have been hundreds of clinically dead people who've come back from the dead. Isn't that true?
You mean that have been beheaded and come back?
Well, Jesus wasn't beheaded, right? But
Vin, a person can argue and say that Jesus never died. They said that he was.
Who can make that argument?
I mean, it all comes down to belief, right?
No, I don't think so. But I want to go back to Jesus for 1 second. But so consciousness, okay. We've never seen a conscious being come from anything other than another conscious being. Isn't that true?
Again, I'm not. That question is kind of it's kind of loopy. I'm not following your question.
Well, where do you think consciousness comes from?
I don't know. It just depends on what you believe. Like if you have a majority of people believe in, I don't know, they just say,
But what do you believe? That's the question. We want to know what you specifically believe.
Zori. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything. I don't deal with belief systems. I'm an atheist.
Right, but where do you think that consciousness comes from? Because whether you're an atheist or not, you still have to have an understanding of where you think consciousness originated.
Well,
So if you don't believe it came from God, where do you think it came from?
I don't know, and neither do nobody else. I mean, people make it.
Okay.
Say, oh, well, it comes from God. That's if a majority believes that, then that's their belief. But there's no evidence showing that your belief that's why they call it belief.
Yeah, my evidence is the impossibility of the contrary. That's evidence.
That goes back to your belief. No, you can't.
No, it doesn't. No. Look, we're operating under logic, right? Life. The only way we can get life is from life, and the only way we can get consciousness is from consciousness. If you deny that, you have to prove that denial.
No, Ben, hold up. You just made the claim, so the burden of proof lies on you, bro.
I did, and my proof is that there has never ever been a situation that we've observed by the scientific method where we have life and consciousness without a previous living conscious being. That's my proof.
Okay,
so if you deny that, it's on you to prove the other way.
No,
Right.
No. You made the claim. That's you to prove.
And I just proved it. I just proved the claim.
No, just you accepted that you didn't prove it.
Well, you're breaking up a little bit because of the internet. So I'm going to say it again. Here's my claim. It is impossible from an atheistic worldview to explain life and consciousness because of the principle of the impossibility to the contrary. Second argument. My second argument is, by observation, we have never seen a living conscious being that was not preceded by another living conscious being. That's a fact.
Right.
So if you're denying that premise, if you're denying premise number 2, then it's on you to show me where premise number 2 is wrong.
Well, let's go back to premise number 1. Number 1, if I make a claim, if I say there's a pink unicorn in the trunk of my car that spits out the bills, it's not up to you to prove that. It's up to me because I made the claim.
I agree, and I just did. With point 2.
Right, because
no. Okay, well, can you show me peer-reviewed data?
right, because you're
Peer-reviewed data that
conscious.
says what?
You are a conscious being, correct?
Right, correct.
And you were produced by your parents who are also conscious beings. And if you keep going back, everything that we can see all around us that is conscious.
I'm talking about what we've observed.
Right. It's all observable to us. So that's what we've observed. Right. And you're saying that you're having a different point of view. So you have to prove that because we've given you lots of proof.
Correct.
I mean, everyone in this stream is a conscious being that came from conscious beings. So you're the one that has a different opposing view. So you have to prove that to us.
Correct.
No. The person who makes the claim has to prove it.
Right. You're the one that made
making the claim. Don't you understand that?
No.
Okay, Black Sun, stop for 1 second. I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if it's true or false, okay?
Okay.
We have never observed a living conscious being that was not preceded by another living conscious being. True or false?
I don't know.
Okay. So if you don't know, then you're not qualified to have the conversation, right? Because we can never come to a conclusion. We can never come to a conclusion if you don't know. Because Black Sun, I don't believe that you don't know.
I totally agree.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for participating then.
All right. Peace out, y'all.
There you go. I'm not making this stuff up. He doesn't know if living and conscious beings need other living and conscious beings to precede them. He doesn't know. Do what you will with that. We continue. But you know what? I appreciate the homie for coming on.
Right.
Because there's lots of people who I won't name that will not. So shout out to Ken. Shout out to Black Sun for coming on. I appreciate it. Seriously.
I said, why in the world is it always black men or young boys that are willing to come up and face you? Although the one yesterday was a white man.
Yeah,
Right.
Kansas. Shout out to Kansas. He's a
But
white
he was
guy.
a Christian.
He's a white. And look, guys, I'm a nice guy. I wasn't mean. Was I mean to the homie?
No, I don't believe so. I think
Yeah.
it went much better today.
Yeah, Black Sun.
Right.
Black Sun. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Black Sun's the man. I appreciate the homie. Look, Black Sun, if you send me an email, I will send you a free shirt, bro. No bullshit. Okay. So we continue in the review. Every letter is okay, so he says, the least of these words will be judged during the times of reckoning. So that's true. Jesus says every idle word that you utter, you will have to answer
Right.
for on Yom Al-Qiyamah, the day of
Right.
judgment. And so that is
One thing that's interesting is it's not just the things you've said, but it's also the things that you've not done. Mm-hmm. Because there's lots of things we ought to do that we don't do. Lots of times people think it's just about the things that you do that are wrong,
Right.
that it's going to come into judgment. But it's also
Right.
the things that you knew to be right and you didn't do them for one reason or another.
Sadat. Right. Right.
Or truth that you know to be a truth, but you reject it because for whatever reason.
Yeah, so it's weird, right? Because on the one hand, he's saying we can't like hold to asceticism, which he's right, and so because of that, I think this is a really sympathetic character actually, because he's saying that what he's perceiving as Christianity is this very rigid, ascetic self-torture, and he's looking at that and saying I can't do that.
Right.
But then he says, but I'm going to be judged for every little thing I say. So he's in a really difficult. You got to feel for this guy,
Right. Definitely, he's put some thought into this. It's not something he's just throwing off the handle. He's been thinking this through, and this is where he's come to.
Right.
So
right.
props to him. Anybody that spends any significant time thinking of the ramifications of things.
But that's a real that
Right.
asceticism is really terrible.
Right.
Because you've got people that are taking God's words. See, what you're supposed to do when Jesus says every idle word you'll have to account for on the day of judgment.
Right.
What you're supposed to say is, shit, I'm glad Jesus lived the perfect life for me and died in my place.
Right.
Because other than that, I'm fucked.
Right.
And it's not because I said the word fuck.
Right.
It's because, when I was, I'll never forget it. I was in 4th grade in Port Malabar Elementary, and I was a new kid. And there was this, people were saying this kid was gay. I don't know if he was gay or not, but he was my friend. And, being the new kid, you don't get a lot of those. So the guy was my friend. So we had this, I think it was Christmas or Valentine's Day thingamajiggy, and you could choose partners or whatever. And of course, me, him, and another kid were last, because I was a new kid and he was gay.
Story. Yes.
And the Lord told me, make sure you pick that kid. And I was like, they're saying he's gay and all this. And the Lord was like, but he's your friend. And I didn't pick him. And I've done a lot of evil shit in my life, and I have no idea why, but that fucking haunts me to this day. All I had to say was him. That's all I had to do, and I didn't do it. And it's probably why I'm so crazy about my friends and loyalty, and after that, I felt so terrible. I felt like such shit. It was like. And it was close to being my last day there because we were going to move again. Surprise, surprise. Mm-hmm. But that one was... And, I see God's wisdom in it because I've always been nicer to LGBT people than most Christians and things like that. But it seems like a small thing. But for some reason, God, let me see that was not a small thing, bro. And I truly believe that. I truly believe because I know a lot of people come on, it was 4th grade, blah, blah, blah. You were a kid, but God made me see the weight of that moment on that kid's life. Mm-hmm. And
wow.
We do that every day to people. You know what I'm saying? The vast majority of things that God calls sins are things that we do to other people and the things that we haven't done for other people.
Right. You're right.
And that act alone is enough to send me to hell forever, honestly. But unless you're inside of my spirit, and unless you feel the weight of what, because like I said, I've done way worse things than that. You know what I'm saying? We got very bloody, in during high school period, and half the stuff. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about it. It's crazy. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. I don't think about it. There's a lot of faces of people that, that we did stuff to or whatever. And I'm like, well, I mean, you know what you were getting into. We knew what we were getting into. So, you shouldn't have been on the wrong team. Like, I truly don't care. But that kid, it's fucked. So to not have, because Jesus is a good friend, and so he's, I just got to trust that he's going to make friends with that kid, and that I'll be able to meet him one day and apologize. But this is a very horrible situation to be in, because this guy's taking sin seriously, but the people around him are pushing this bullshit asceticism. Jesus talked about like putting weights on people they can't carry.
Right.
And then he says, you won't do a finger to lift to help them. And like, that's why I'm like, Christians we really need, sometimes I just wish like somebody would stand up and say, I think we need to have a moratorium on how we're handling LGBT people. For sure. Let's just shut the fuck up for 5 years.
Right.
And let's all get together and pray and think about how we're going to, because look, they're not like made of paper. Like I've said a bunch of times, like, this is not the way God designed it. It's, blah, blah, blah. And if you're going to get in, it's because of God's grace and mercy. Like, we've never, ever compromised that. And yet, our LGBT, so it's
they are still our friends.
Yeah. And before this channel, I used to really think, if you ever tell a gay person, this is what the Bible says, they'll immediately cut you off.
Yes, I absolutely thought that too.
They won't. They don't. They haven't.
Right.
So that tells me, holy shit.
Right. The same thing happened to the Muslim people as well.
Correct. Well,
they said if you're Muslim and you go into their store, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah.
If you try to talk to them about, they're going to kick you out. And it was absolutely not true. I've had lots of conversations with them. I've gone into their store and I've purchased things. They've not kicked me out.
Yeah. No, they haven't.
It's the same thing. Like the LGBT, all those people on our channel.
Yeah.
I have been amazed that they continue being our friends.
They've been our best friends.
Right.
They've been the most generous. They've been the most supportive. Anytime somebody's in trouble,
shocking.
Anytime somebody's in trouble, we put a call out. It's always the LGBT people first.
Right. It just makes you wonder how many things are being said that are absolutely not true, and how many people are being rejected and not being understood because. Well, really, even if they were going to reject us and leave us because of what our belief system was,
right?
At least we tried to talk to them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. It's just people don't run off at the first, disagreement that there is. But because people have said it for so long, it's an absolute belief. And I thought
I did.
that when we spoke the truth of what we believe, that our friends were going to leave us. And I was sad about it, but we couldn't lie. And sure enough, it was not something. The lie was on the side of the Christians.
It was.
Once again.
It was.
A disappointment. But they are all people.
And we took part in it. But the thing is that, and I hear where BM Fan is going with this, and I put it up there, but I'm not certain I completely agree. This record takes a view that if all men are damned from sin by birth, then it's better to just sin and transgress everything, transgress and transcend humanity. Yes, I hear that, but this line right here in the middle, BM Fans, is to me talking about extreme asceticism as a way of atoning for your own sin.
Right.
The other thing is this little phrase right here, perindak cadaver, actually means. Here's what that verse, that little phrase at the end right there, after denial of free will, where it says perindak cadaver, which I'm butchering the pronunciation. Here's what it means. That means literally in the manner of a corpse, used in describing the submission of a disciple to a spiritual master.
Oh.
So you use that term to basically say, I'm as resistless as a dead body, basically. Oh, wow. So I'm going to completely submit to my master, which again, in these ascetic relationships, that's exactly how it goes. Right. You have one spiritual master, you're supposed to submit completely to them, and then they push all this crazy asceticism on you that you can't handle.
Right.
So I don't think this is so I get it, like, okay, if we're all damned to sin, then we might as well just sin as much as we want. But it looks to me like there is some spiritual master that's pushing on them, especially that phrase, every human being that doesn't go to the extreme limit, yada, yada, yada. Like, I get that, like, that's his master talking. And then this right here is the orchard stuff is him talking about, like, let's just be as sinful as possible then. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Bearing a latent damnation of feverish seduction, exasperated in death. Every letter is a code to extreme horror, utter contempt, and divine conflict. I'm assuming every letter in the Bible is what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. It is lethal to speak the language of resistance. Every gasp exhales a particle of the remission of Golgotha. Jeez. Okay, so Golgotha means Skull Hill, or the place of the skull. Well, Jesus was crucified on Skull Hill, which is really interesting considering Genesis 3:15.
Right.
Perkinos.
Right.
So Jesus is crucified on a place called Golgotha. So what he's saying is every word that you use in resistance to God is a remission of Golgotha, which is not true. Your sin is not big enough to remit the remitting power of the cross.
Certainly not.
This is another place where I completely disagree with them.
Right. Right.
There's nothing that I can do. There's no sin that I can commit as a human that is more powerful than Jesus, who is God's atoning work on Golgotha. So, but again, if you're looking at a lot, and this is not all Roman Catholics, okay, but a lot, and BM fan, I want to know if these guys, text me later if these guys have a Roman Catholic background. But in a lot of Roman Catholicism, not all, I'm trying to be circumspect here. There's this idea that when Jesus died, he basically got you back to zero. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's up to you now to live a good life after that. Mm-hmm. So that works here. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says by a single offering, he is perfected for all time.
Right.
Those who are being made holy. Or later on, Jesus says, you guys have already had a bath, but your feet get dirty. Mm-hmm. Meaning you're cleansed completely in God's sight. But because you're still connected to the earth, you still have to walk around in the sinful world. You're going to get your feet dirty.
Right.
So that's how God looks at it. So all your sins are dealt with start to finish. There's literally nothing that I can do that's going to get me outside of God's family. But if you don't have that understanding, if you don't have that understanding, then it's kind of like, well, Jesus gave you the assist. Now you got to keep, and that, what does that do? It transfers all this power to the spiritual authority. Mm-hmm. Because they can now dispense, and the Roman Catholics literally, the priest is an alter Christus, literally another Christ.
Right.
And he dispenses the divine graces that come from the cross. I mean, that's literally his position. Well, that gives them a lot of power. But if I tell a person, look, Goth Mom, what you have to do is realize that you've sinned against God, you haven't been perfect, and that Jesus was perfect, he died for your sins, he rose on the third day. And look, you might have doubts about X, Y, and Z thing, but as long as you hold on to that, you're good. Now, I have no power over her. She might come to me and say, hey, you know the Bible, but I can't dangle her eternal destiny every Sunday over her because that's settled, and that disempowers me.
Right. Right.
As a religious person.
Right.
And so to distort the gospel and bring it back to your performance and how good you're doing is a way for human beings to take back that power over their congregants. Because now I am the one that's dispensing the grace of forgiveness. So if you cross me, it's equivalent to crossing God. You see how that works? So it looks like that's what he's relating to.
It gave them a lot of sort of monetary power because of the things that they would say, and then it got more money to the church so they could do the things that they were wanting to do. It also put people in a very precarious situation if perhaps the priest or the person in charge was particularly lustful and they had certain power over the people because they wanted that.
Facts.
You know, so it became a really mess, a very bad situation for lots of people.
As long as you believe in Jesus Christ, you get in. Does believe mean backing? Does believe mean you admit the existence of? That's a good point. I would say that belief means that whatever he says about himself, you believe to be true. So he says that he's a savior, right? but he also says that he's the Lord. Well, if he's the Lord, then my orientation is going to change in regard to things that I want to do or positions that I want to hold. I have to run that through the funnel of Jesus. Now, I'm not going to do that perfectly. I certainly don't. But to believe in Jesus means that I believe that he's a savior. I also believe that he's the Lord. And what belief means is, it's one thing, you're at 10,000 feet in the air and you're about to do it, you're about to jump and you've got a parachute. I can tell whether or not you believe that parachute by whether or not you jump.
Right.
If you say, yeah, this parachute's going to save me, but you never jump, then you don't really believe the parachute's going to save you. So that's what it that's kind of what it believes. Bring up the first DSO song we did, Sola Fide. Actually, he's right. BM Fan is right, because the Decibel Omega song that we initially did was called Sola Fide, which is by during the Protestant Reformation there were 5 solas, right? You had Sola Scriptura, which was we determine truth by Scripture alone, by all things by faith and morals are dictated to us by Scripture. You had Sola Scriptura. You had Sola Gratia, which means that your righteous standing with God is only through grace. Sola Gratia, grace alone. And then you had Sola Fide, which is you access that grace, or you activate that grace only by faith, not of works.
Right. Right.
And then you had Solus Christus, which is Christ alone does all the work of salvation. Obviously, you had some of the Marian dogmas there, but the big thing was me and Jesus are not a team working to save me. Jesus did all the saving. I was dead under the water. It wasn't that I was struggling,
right,
and then Jesus was a lifeguard. I was dead at the bottom of the ocean. He picked me up, got me out of the ocean, and then rose me from the dead.
Right.
Solus Christus. And then the last one is Soli Deo Gloria, which is to God alone be the glory. Because if there's a very specific divine strategy in taking all the work away from us. So one aspect of the strategy is, if I take all the work away from you, now you're secure. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to wonder what your standing with God is.
Right. And no one has one foot up over above anyone else.
Correct.
Because it's all coming down to God and what he's doing individually with each person.
Right.
So it doesn't matter your intellect, it doesn't matter whether you have some mental disorder or where you were born. It all comes down to God and his work within you. So nobody is above anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Jesus said the greatest among you is the one who serves.
Right.
So the super Christian in the room is the one that's beneath everybody, serving everybody.
Right.
Not the guy who's got all the
Right.
cameras and and the YouTube channel and all the rest of it. Those are not super Christians. Those are, when this is all over, you just be a run-of-the-mill guy. I'll just be a run-of-the-mill guy. But there'll be somebody who prays for everybody on this chat that never said anything, but is just a faithful person, completely anonymous. That guy or that young lady is going to be a rock star that's going to have jurisdiction over 50 universes or whatever. I truly believe that's how it's going to go. But the other side of the divine strategy is, so psychologically, it's good for us that it's not dependent on us at all. And then God gets all the glory.
Right.
So none of the works were from me. And God says, he knows. He says, you're saved by grace through faith. This is not a works. It's a gift of God. Lest any man boast.
Right.
Because he knows how we are.
Right.
If it was about your good deeds, then you would have room to brag.
Of course.
But since has nothing to do with your good deeds, now there's no bragging. We can only brag on Christ. Right? I can only say I was dead at the bottom of the ocean. You picked me up, bro.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for the solid. Okay. So, every grasp exhales a particle of the remission of Golgotha, as if the blazing logos demanded the exercise of a fragile power just above annihilation. The one of a harmony in ruins, it is a task for man who cannot bear any longer to be a chore for the loss and the denial of free will. So it looks like, and what BM Fan was saying is that this whole idea is, okay, we can't live up to God's standards, so let's swing the other way and become as sinful as we possibly can, and then we will transcend to something else outside of the image of God, which is true. That's called hell. That's what that is. That's what that is. And so anybody who decides that they're gonna like completely turn their back on God and become as sinful as they possibly can be, so that they can transform, they can transcend what it means to be human, will absolutely accomplish that goal. And whatever, in 10,000 years, if you were to see that person, that being, you would no longer recognize them as human, because in my mind, hell is the eternal extraction of the image of God from a being.
Right.
That's what hell is.
Right.
And so because God is infinite, the image of God is infinite. And so in order to extract the image of God, it's going to take an infinity to do that.
Right.
So what you look like in 20,000 years is going to be more horrific than what you look like in 10,000 years, because you hate God so much that it's inevitable that turns into self-hate, because you're an image bearer of God. So it's an eternal state of hatred, of volitional hatred, meaning that you chose it, so that even if God were to open the doors of heaven, which oddly enough in the book of Revelation, the gates of heaven are open, they're not closed, you wouldn't go.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's that. Good Lord. So light viewing.
Right. The person that you have found the most enjoyment from, and the characteristics that they had, most likely reflect something of God, and that's why you were so attracted to it, you were so drawn to it, for multiple different reasons. And oftentimes the things that bring us the most frustration in someone else, lots of times has to do because it's something completely opposite of God. Mm-hmm. So there you have it.
Ex-goth, I keep calling you goth mom. No, look, Jesus says that people are judged according to their knowledge, right? He says, to those who much is given, much is required. Acts 17 says basically that God looked the other way during the period of ignorance, or jahiliyyah in the Islamic sense. Romans 1 tells us that all of us know at minimum that there is a God. And so if the Incan or the Mayan person responded positively to the small amount of light that they received, God takes that as faith and applies the death of Christ to those people. So the point is, no matter what period of time, whether it's Adam or the last human being to be born on the planet, everybody that wants God will have him. There is nobody that will want or desire sincerely the true God that God will cast out. Jesus said, whoever comes to me, I will in no wise cast out. So anybody who genuinely wants God, even if they don't say the right words or have the right whatever, anybody who genuinely wants God will have him and is part of our family.
Right. And I truly believe there are lots of people hearing our voices right now that are very much in that situation where they are to be accepted by God and he's calling to them, because we talk about God a lot on this channel. It should make lots of people want to move away from it. But still, people come, they listen to it, and there is some measure of interest in what we're saying, and I do believe that that's because there is something that's drawing them there. So there you have it.
This song is 9.9. I could talk for much longer, but holy moly, it's a 9.9. It was really, 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 really good song.
Right, I'm going actually with a 10 for this one. I thought it was a very good one. It had a great discussion with it. The sound itself was something that was appealing, and
You liked it more than the other song.
It was also better than the other one. So I think that's what pushed it up more, was because the other one was so repulsive, and this one, was
repulsive.
It was repulsive. I think even God himself rejects that song.
I would kiss you if you weren't so demonic.
Kiss me.
X, I said everybody. That's what I said.
Got a bit of paint on you.
The issue, though, is who sincerely desires a relationship with the true God. That's what I said, and that's what I believe. R.I.P. Ulver. Oh my goodness, you guys are hilarious. All right, guys, thank you very much. This was good. This was good. The song, the Meph0rash song, was extremely troubling song. but it was my song. It's the song. It's the song of the night for me. That Meph0rash song. When you talk about repulsive, like that song was repulsive, but that's what that type of metal is supposed to do. So
Right.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right.
Big shout outs to the big homie Vlad.
Yes.
Shout out to Vlad.
Yep.
Shout out to
Dark
Neil.
Sun person that called. And
Oh,
also, patrons, don't forget to check out the video that's going to be posted later. As soon as we get this stream done, I'm headed down to the 7-Eleven still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Vinny's going to record me.
Yeah, you guys will be able to check that out on Patreon. So much love to everybody. Shout out to Delaney. Shout out to Goth Mom. Shout out to Rip the God. Boop, boop, boop. Boom, boom, boom.
Thanks for coming to the stream with us.
Yes, take care of each other. Thanks for coming to the stream. Much love to everybody. Vin out.
Sorry out.
God.